Welcome to Muay Thai Bones. At-home edition.
Couch edition.
Couch edition. If you're new to Muay Thai Bones, Sylvie, 260 fight veteran, her loyal and trusty husband, photographer, dude.
Kevin.
Kevin. Yeah. Oh, I actually
You have a name
I have
too.
a name too. Talking all things Muay Thai. We try to just think out of the box in terms of how Muay Thai applies to life. Sylvie lives the Muay Thai life. She's been training and fighting in Thailand for 8 years now.
Yeah, it's April, and April was when we came, so anniversary month.
And you when we came, was this the first trip or the second trip where you we flew up to Chiang Mai, and you were training the next morning?
That was the second one, but it might have been the first one.
I think it was both ones.
We were way into it.
Yeah. So you've been basically training and fighting full time, the whole time. So if you're a patron, you can listen to this in the audio subscription podcast. They're available to all the patrons. Even $1 patrons get the full Muay Thai Bones podcast, which is nice. And if you're watching this, it's free for everybody on YouTube.
Yes.
So we're usually doing this driving across Thailand on these epic 10-hour driving trips.
This is the second one we've done still, not driving.
Not moving.
There's no looking out for what's happening on the road. But it's actually nice because we can look at each other.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You mentioned that last time about the one we did on the
we were on a balcony.
On
that was balcony edition. Was the last one. Never couch
but you were
edition.
saying it was easier to talk more when we have eye contact.
Yeah.
It'd be dangerous.
For Kevin, there's no difference because I'm an automaton.
No comment. Doesn't look like anything to me.
Doesn't look like anything to me. Kill the accent.
What was that she said in season 3?
About the emotions?
Yeah, kill emotional affects.
Yeah.
Or
Turn
something
off
like that.
emotional affects.
Yeah.
Sylvie, what's your morning routine? Turn off emotional affects.
Totally. Some android humor from Westworld. Isn't that what it is? Westworld? Yeah. Okay. So we're just going to dive right into the first topic.
We'll just get into it. So our first topic is high rep philosophy and the tripod.
Oh, this is a big one. So part of the reason why we're talking about this is Sylvie's doing live stream home workouts on Facebook. These are not instructional videos. These are Sylvie getting herself in shape, maintaining her conditioning before she can get back to the gym, because this is COVID-19 lockdown time. And also, she also wants to improve herself. It's not just maintenance, but it's how can you improve yourself at home?
Right.
And this is she's mostly been doing 500 elbows, 500 knees every day.
Yeah, high rep.
High rep. And this is a different kind of training philosophy than maybe a lot of Western gyms, coaches, approaches, even some Thai gyms.
Yeah.
This is a different thought process about how you can improve yourself through just doing really high repetitions of something.
Yeah. So there's a phrase that is used often that I almost never ever agree with, which is quality not quantity. Which is okay, sure. But I also heavily subscribe to the Dan Gable more is more approach. And Dan
Gable, a very famous American wrestler who was known for
Olympic wrestler, yeah.
Olympic American wrestler. He was a stud and then became a coach. And his other philosophy, you just do more. Yeah. Of everything.
Yeah. But the idea with high repetition is that, I use this example a lot of, it's like water over a stone, is that the water is not a monolith. It goes slightly in different directions. It does different things. It bubbles. It has higher pressure and lower pressure. All of those things are true in yourself when you're doing high rep, but it smooths out the stone being your technique, just by rushing over it with repetition and time. So a lot of us are taught, or even just with our own internal wanting to be correct, to have proper technique or correct technique, we create this habit of stopping when there's a mistake and then super overanalyzing why that happened or what needs to take place in order for it to be correct on the next one. Like one mistake and then right back to correct.
Well, this is a tremendous valid fear that Westerners have, which is don't practice mistakes, because then you will learn a groove of mistakes and it'll be very hard to correct somebody.
Right.
What do you say for people that are like, you're going to be practicing mistakes over and over again? Like, you're not supposed to drop your hand on a cross, let's say. So you're doing high rep crosses and you're just dropping your hand like motherfucker. Dropping your hand, dropping your hand. That hand's never going to come up is the fear, because you're practicing a mistake. I remember there was a father who was very serious about his son, who brought him to come and train at Petron Rung, which is a really like Thai style gym. And he was sitting next to me and I was trying to explain to him the slow cook method of Petron Rung. And he's like, they were complaining that their son wasn't getting tons of correction.
And he'd been there for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, for a short time, but even if he was there longer, he wouldn't be getting any correction.
Yeah.
This is not the Thai way. And he's like, you'd just be practicing mistakes. Like, this is a mantra of a lot of Western coaching. What do you think? What do you say to somebody who has that fear? Because it's a very valid fear. It actually is true in some ways.
The caveat is knowing when your hand drops. If you're not aware that your hand is dropping all the time and you're kicking and kicking and kicking and you're like, this is perfect.
Yeah, you see those
That's a
guys that
problem.
come onto the bag, just like usually Western guys, but there was a couple Thai guys that come onto the bag and they're just like ripping it and everything, and they have no idea
how ridiculous
what's going on, like what it looks like.
So the idea with high repetition is that you're learning to recognize the error or that that's not quite it and this is it. It's being able to know the difference between that and not that, but not stopping and judging every time you see that difference. So no, you don't want high repetition where you're completely unaware of what's happening all the time. You can ingrain some pretty bad habits that way, but even over time, doing it wrong and being unaware of it being wrong for a really long time, you will eventually come to know that one felt better than that one, even if you don't know why.
Yeah, it's almost like if you push through far enough, your body's going to find equilibrium. And then, for instance, like just to pick up my idea of this, like hand dropping, right? So if you're doing a lot of hand dropping, but your right cross has a lot of power and it's fast and no one can see it, okay, you got some good balance. Now start sparring.
Yeah.
You're going to start getting clipped
Yeah.
from that hand dropping. Nobody has to tell you that you got a problem. If you keep sparring and keep training, your body should be able to solve that problem and start to feel that hole.
Yeah, and it's important to point out, your body will fix it.
Yes.
Your brain doesn't need to fix that for you.
You will have your coach say, get your hand up, get your hand up, get your hand up. But very often that'll get you into a little cul-de-sac of self-criticism.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest enemies of fight flow is that inner coach telling you something wasn't good.
Yeah, and it's this, I think that the second part of this topic was the tripod, which is something I came up with on my live
This
feed.
is a great, I'm going to say, this is what's amazing about you, is you're just fucking brilliant with analogies. I'm like, I listen to these live streams to learn shit, because you just spontaneously come up with great breakdowns of what's actually happening. So talk about the tripod. I fucking love the tripod.
So the thing is, I don't know if people still remember or care or even like Fight Club, but back in the day, there were all these lines from Fight Club that like bros and people were way into, which is the like, once you buy the couch, you've got that couch thing covered. So no matter what else happens in your life, the couch thing is covered, kind of thing. And for whatever reason, we think that once we correct a mistake, it's done forever. Like, you're never going to not step on your kick again. You're never going to drop your hand again. Like, there is the custom motto, I got them doing it so many times that they couldn't do it wrong if they tried.
Yeah.
That's high repetition. That is not a, like, you will never
But he
drop
was
your
probably
hand
he was
again.
probably yelled at coach-wise quite a
he
bit.
was hit in the fucking face many
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
But the thing about the tripod is that when you're adjusting a tripod and you're trying to calibrate it and make it right, you cannot be like, I already moved that bolt, so I can't unscrew the bolt and move it ever again.
Yeah.
When you're adjusting something, you're going to have to make adjustments here, and then it's like, okay, now it's too tight and I need to move down here and make this longer, and now that this is longer, I need to adjust over here. It's this constant movement between the parts to make the entire thing work. So you never like, well, I solved that hands up thing. Like, yeah, for the most part, but at some point there's going to be a like readjustment of all the things that you're doing. And they're never even gross things like a hands up. It's like where your weight is, or like where your kind of feeling is.
Well, you can do a couple things. Like, for instance, keeping your hand up on your kick, your opposite side hand up. You can tighten that bolt pretty hard because you pretty much should have your hand up, and then make everything else adjust itself to that. That's one way of doing it. Or you can keep feeling, and sometimes you concentrate on your hand being up. Sometimes you concentrate on your step on your kick. Sometimes you concentrate on your arm throw. Sometimes you concentrate on how you come off a kick.
Right.
Those are like the legs of a tripod. There's actually 4 of those, but a big part of this is attention and awareness rather than control over.
Right.
So this is what's kind of cool about the high repetition philosophy, which is you've got to develop a mental picture of good technique.
Right.
To a certain degree. Oh, our little thing is...
It's just moving a little bit. It's okay.
I know, but it's bothering me. I'm going to do that.
Okay.
All right. These are the... by the way, these are just... If you're watching on YouTube, these are these beautiful photos that were taken of Sylvie like
100 years ago.
when you were just a little baby fighter in Chiang Mai. A university student shot a project.
And then put it in a like cafe...
in a gallery,
and so they were giant.
And then he gave them to you.
Yeah.
We have a handful of these. This is really
gave
cool.
them to me.
What stadium is this? Do you remember? Is this Lloyd Crow?
Lloyd Crow.
I think it's Lloyd Crow.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is our Joe Rogan American flag behind us.
The salt lamp.
There is one viewer who like waits and times how long it takes us to mention Joe Rogan.
Is there really?
Yes. He's like, turn on Muay Thai Bones. How much time before Joe Rogan is mentioned? Mark now.
Okay.
We seem to mention him every podcast.
Okay, which is weird.
I'm the one because you actually listen to more podcasts than me.
Yeah, I don't really listen to them anymore. Yeah.
So, what were we saying? Oh, the tripod. You have to develop a mental picture of elements of what good technique is. You can't just wail on the bag or such. Like, to give you an example, things that you're doing with your 500 elbows is like you want the elbow to come across the horizon line of your eyes or your bridge of your nose. You don't want it coming low. You want the elbow point to go past the center point of the body to make sure it follows through.
You want rotation in the waist. You want flexibility in the hips. You want to be on your toes, like all kinds of things.
Well, yeah, I want to go through them actually. And then you also don't want your heels turning too much, like you're throwing a hook.
Right.
But you don't want to tighten all those screws.
Yeah.
You don't want to create a perfect elbow and then copy it over and over again. Because the process of high repetition is about concentrating on an element, maybe being aware of it, not controlling. You feel your way through it and let all the other things just kind of like happen.
Yeah.
But you look like this is not interesting, actually. You're the one experienced with me.
Well, doggies outside. We have the dog mafia on our street.
I find this very interesting because this is the answer to you don't want to be practicing mistakes.
But this is the thing, because with high repetition, you do want the mistakes. Yes. You don't want to make them on purpose, but you want to allow them to happen and then the correction to take place off of that and then another correction to take place off of that, and the kind of like constant flow between not quite, yes, this, that's better, oh, now a little more, now better, 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 3 in a row that were good, and now it's a little bit off again. By not stopping and like figuring out all the, it's like if you stopped your car every time you heard the like squeal instead of driving the car to hear when it squeals or something. Like Like, you would never know what's wrong with your car.
Or the analogy I use, if you're learning to drive, if you like stopped the car every time you didn't make the right lane change and thought about it, you'd be causing some accidents.
You'd never learn to drive.
You would never learn to drive.
Yeah.
This is a really important thing because I think, and we were even talking about this today, people learn micro break patterns in their pad work, even in sparring, in their bag work. People are constantly chunking their training into small pieces that get stopped and reviewed. Stopped and reviewed, especially somebody who's very self-critical like you. And you build in this pattern. It's an emotional relationship to your own skill levels, right? Where your music is constantly stuttering. And the beauty of high repetition, one reason why we started high repetition, I wouldn't mind going into it a little bit, was we're like, Master K was Elbow KO, your very first teacher. And you loved his elbows, but you felt an ungodly pressure about elbows.
Yeah.
Because for the first few years of being a fighter, you wanted to bring Master K's, like, do honor to your original teacher.
Yeah.
What is fucking Master K if not elbows? And it created tremendous tension around elbows that is with you to this day, where that tension is this extreme judgment that gets trained into the technique, which then when you have tension, you cannot throw it when you're under pressure.
Yeah.
Because you don't trust it, you can judge it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so finally we came up with this 1,000 elbows. You were throwing 1,000 elbows for, I don't know, was that 6 months?
I think so.
You were throwing them in your car, in the shopping market, at the gas station, just to get past all of that habitual judgment.
Yeah.
It just
feel them. Just learn to feel them. That they can come out of whatever. Like, come out of tension, come out of the wrong position, come out of fatigue, come out of really not wanting to be doing them, coming out of the freedom of them.
And part of this was just the I can feel like this is like a tense subject for you, actually. No?
No, not so much.
No? Part of this is also in the elbow story about Sylvie, is she has the fucking unbelievable blessing to train at Petron Rung, who has had a very little regarded trainer who was not even really allowed to be part of the gym because he's pretty much on the margins of society, living next door. He was a referee at the bar at funny show fights. Lives next door to the gym, the greatest elbow fighter ever.
Very sweet man.
Yod Kupan.
Yeah. Elbow hunter of 100 stitches. He's like the greatest elbow fighter who ever lived.
But at the end, after his career, he found himself on the margins of society, as many great fighters do. And maybe we'll talk also about his career and why it wasn't appreciated by Thais either later in this Bones. But you started with the elbow KO teacher, 70-year-old man in America.
Right.
And then you found yourself training next door to the greatest elbow fighter ever. You couldn't make a movie. It's a fucking Karate Kid movie, right?
The universe wants elbows to come to Sylvie in some way.
And the 1,000 elbows, the repetition was really inspired by the beauty and freedom of Yod Kumpan's elbows.
Oh, they're unreal.
It's that they can come from anywhere. We'll talk maybe a little bit about what he said about building his own style. But he basically was like, they thought I had only one elbow, so I just made more.
I could just do them from anywhere.
Yeah. So, but it is about this relationship to a technique. It's establishing all that kind of natural fluidity of instinct and intuition that gets wiped out if you stop the technique over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, you said stuttering. It is like stuttering. If every time you stuttered, you stopped talking, you can't express yourself. Like, you can't say anything if you stop every time you stutter.
And you make it more likely to stutter again.
Because you're nervous.
Because you made a thing about it. You made a thing about it.
Yeah, it's like the King's Speech where, like, he's trying to get through his speech and he, like, can't say the word, and so his coach is like, hop onto it. He just kind of, like, adds a syllable before it that's not part of the word, and he's like, a people. Like,
Totally.
You can do that. Like,
totally.
you can kind of, like, find the little, again, it's about finding the feeling of something, and so you can, like, see and know all the different things that are happening. Whereas when you stop every time, you're like, that's not right. My foot was supposed to be here and it didn't go here. Your foot might not be there because of something that's happening over there. It's totally the tripod of like, this is not in the right position because that one needs to be corrected
And you
first.
have to, part of this is trusting that the body knows more than your mind. Your ego, your mind, and also your coach's ego and his mind likes to say that they know what's best, right? There's lots of abstract knowledge you can get from videos, the Muay Thai library, things that you share, things that highlight people share. Your coach tells you these are abstractions. Yes, there's some smartness. The greatest wisdom of fighting knowledge is in your body. It is a million-year-old predator AI computer system that has been developing itself on how to move through space under extreme duress. That through evolution has tremendous computational power, and part of high repetition is allowing your body to find the natural movements of balance and continuity that connect together your advice from your coach, the thing you want to do. This is what's kind of interesting to me, is that you do still need to understand what you should be doing, but it's the non-judgmental way you witness it. And this connects up with your Vipassana training. Maybe take a second. Wait, let's stop this and go into this real quick.
Okay. Do you have to change a battery or anything?
Rolling. Okay, so we were just took a camera break real quick. I was talking about how Vipassana meditation, which is a form of Buddhistic meditation that you practice, helped us think about this non-judgmental observation. So maybe for people who don't know what it is, talk about this kind of, it's not breath meditation, right?
Oh, what is Vipassana?
Yeah, and how it connects up with maybe the kinds of non-judgmental observation that would help you in high rep.
So in short, Vipassana is taking as its object, instead of the breath, what you're observing are the body and the mind. Again, going back to Fight Club, not your body and your mind, but the body and the mind in order to separate out from it. And so there's a kind of like observational quality to it that's very non-judgmental, because it's not your body and your mind. You're just watching it.
You've compared it to like watching a doll sometimes.
Yeah, the idea is that it's like watching a doll, but it'd be like giving someone a task that you're like, watch this beetle and just see what it does. You're not like, stupid beetle crawling around again, like just watch the beetle and see what it does. Scientists are very good at this because they just need to observe reactions, like what things are happening.
Take notes.
So that's very good for this high repetition, because in short, it's know the difference, but don't judge the difference, which is, that felt good, that felt bad.
It seems like a judgment to me, honestly.
The good and bad part is, but the like throwing the elbows, I felt that this elbow stood in the middle, but what I'm trying to do is make it go to the other side. Just know that it didn't go where it
I feel like this is a little bit muddied. Like for instance, if your hand is dropping, and you know as part of the more ideal way, you don't want to be dropping your offhand while you're throwing across. If it's dropping, just knowing that and then being like, my hand dropped. My hand dropped. My hand dropped. You don't have to then be like, you're bad because you're dropping. Keep your hand up. You can just be noting, my hand dropped. And,
totally, that's the lack of judgment.
And what will happen, well, I'm trying to take the words good and bad out, right? What will happen is your hand will start doing something different. Not because you told it to.
Well, if you have somewhere in your mind that it would be a point to keep it up at some point.
It might be better, like I kind of want to have my hand up.
Yeah.
But you don't have to then verbally tell it.
Yeah.
This is a big thing.
It's like the inner game of tennis where it's like trying to hit the ball into a certain... Okay.
Continuing on.
more camera issues.
We're not used to working with this equipment. So we were talking about Vipassana, judging the body like a doll, It's a form of Buddhist meditation.
Not judging the body, observing the body like
observing the body, yes. And I feel like I lost this a little bit.
You were bringing forward this important thing about knowing the difference in, like, I was saying that you have to know to some degree that you want your hand to be up in order to be like, hand is falling, hand is falling, hand is falling. Don't judge that it's falling, but knowing that it's falling with the intention that you want it to be up.
But not the intention. I think intention is part of the problem. Because intention implies willful focus. There is this feeling, this is really interesting to me, and this is actually what's cool about the Muay Thai bones. We like go down these little alleyways because things about Muay Thai connect to huge metaphysical, philosophical things. This is about like how to learn. And it goes all the way down into Vipassana meditation. Like, Vipassana meditation is teaching you how to be in the world, in every single second of it. Every circumstance, ideally, your boss is yelling at you, you're talking to your mother, whatever it is, Vipassana states are ideal states, right? You're practicing a skill.
Yeah, and you're trying to attain consistency or...
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're talking about with high repetition. And it's like, so how do you, what's very interesting is, how do you gain a sense of the ideal without judgment? And what you describe Vipassana, and I don't practice it, but what you describe of Vipassana meditation, where the mind goes off on thoughts and you're just like, oh, the mind is just thinking these things.
Yeah, it's
like
the mind to wander.
Taking a walk. The mind is taking a walk. It doesn't matter that what it's saying to itself. It's like it likes to talk. I feel like that's something very close to how do you have a sense of ideal. What are the tripod legs that you're adjusting, but you're not judging? This is so big deal, and I think especially for female fighters, because female fighters have this thing where they're kind of always have to prove themselves.
Right.
So you can't have sloppy technique as a female fighter. Like a lot of female fighters have like very like constricted technique because they want to color inside the lines. They don't want to be, there are other brawly female fighters too, but many female fighters have a very strong inner coach of judgment because they don't want to be judged as not qualifying. Would you agree with that? You said it seemed like it tensed you up a little bit.
We actually had this discussion about an hour ago when we were doing our work.
Oh, I didn't even remember that connection. Well, you want to talk a little bit about that?
I don't know, but...
But the larger idea, this is a big deal. This is what Muay Thai Bones is about, is we just talk about shit.
Well,
and don't talk shit.
I don't know that I have something to say about this. I think that women do try to be very technical. Men do too, but women do it as a like... This
as a qualifier
lets me
legitimacy
be legitimate by having proper and beautiful technique. But
I think there's an added pressure because in a way, when a man comes to train to fight, well, that's a man doing what he should be doing. When a woman comes to train to fight, there is always, even west and east, there is always a dimension of a woman is doing what she shouldn't be doing or doesn't usually do. And so there's an added pressure of qualification, which means that women often listen to their coaches more, train longer and harder, like fucking grind it in the gym. They're always like overachieving in some way, and part of that overachievement can be really strong inner coaches.
Yes.
Like a lot of yelling at them oneself.
Oh, is there?
This is a big deal because this is what high repetition is the antidote for.
Yeah, okay, so I'm having a hard time sticking to this point because I'm thinking about this other point.
Okay, well, we can slide around.
When talking on my live stream about how you want to be making these kind of like observations in order to know what's happening, and then the corrections will just come out of that. You'll just kind of lean towards the ones that are preferred. You said you have to know what the right idea is.
Somewhere.
Yeah. If you've never seen an elbow thrown ever and you're going to throw 500 elbows, your body will find an easier way to do things because that's how things work. But knowing what the idea of what you're trying to do is, or what the, like, are you trying to be loose? Are you trying to be fast? Are you trying to be, like all of these different things, you have to have some idea of.
Well, that's the interesting part is, like, in the West, I'll just say the West, but it's many other contexts, the idea of what's supposed to be gets imported in a very strong, mechanistic, judgmental way.
Ooh, we're segueing.
We're not segueing at all. We're foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
And the business model of training is the coach is the keeper of the keys of knowledge.
And there's a distinct right and wrong.
Yeah,
way of doing
very
things.
often there's a distinct right and wrong. And a lot of that knowledge might be accurate in some contexts, but sometimes it doesn't serve you well if you're really trying to reach for self-expression and a development of true fight fluidity. Like, we know the old, like, people who are fucking unbelievable on pads and so pretty and not pretty in fights. Those people don't have the connection to their technique that contains that fluidity.
Well, this is maybe why there is also this gender divide of women being so, like, the technique has to be correct kind of thing. Is that by men kind of passing as fighters just by walking through the door, that, like, you have some quality that allows you to be this, even if your technique is not right or whatever. It's like your style kind of thing is, like, at least you've got the, like, I don't know, stuff of a fighter, whereas a woman might not necessarily have this. Is that those, like, inaccuracies for a woman, it's like if Thai is not my first language, when I make a mistake, it's a big mistake. Whereas if a native Thai speaker spells something wrong, it's like creative. Whatever,
totally.
you know? It's like, I think that men not only have visuals and ideals that are also men who are doing it correctly. Women often don't have that. There are not other women who are Muay who are, like, doing that technique so perfectly. We're looking at men doing it.
Right, often.
But also there's this, like, if a man does it differently or wrong or whatever the thing is, it's like, oh, that happened because his fighterliness made up for the other thing. Whereas a woman does not have something that makes up for the lack of
Speaking,
technique.
like, really broadly. Like,
Very broadly.
broad brush.
I just thought of it while we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
totally. There's a kind of safety net of criticism sometimes. And then there's other divides, like Thai versus Farang. Like, Farang are kind of in the female position.
Yeah.
Like, they probably always want to feel like they have Thai technique and they fight like a Thai. And there's another divide there, but we're not talking about that one.
Just picture some, like, Western coach who's got, like, kind of that's not quite the greatest knee, and they're like, oh, but that's my style. And, like, totally you can get away with that. Imagine a woman being like, that's my style. People would be like, you're just doing it wrong.
Hey, that's actually really good. I'm not sure a lot of Western coach would just let the guy get away with it.
I'm saying the
But
coach would be like, that's my style. The coach is wrong.
I don't understand.
I'm saying a coach has a wrong knee and is like, that's my style, and then he teaches it to everybody. But yeah, okay.
I actually don't understand the female
matter.
comparison.
It doesn't matter.
I'm saying that the comparison between men and women can be much more like, that's my style.
Yeah.
A woman almost can't even say that
No.
in a weird way.
No.
Like, it would be like, you don't have permission to say that.
No. You're like, you don't get a style.
In a weird way. So this all goes back to self-criticism and how water over the stone philosophy can maybe lead you to connecting to errors in a very different way. And this is to me, this is a huge thing, because you do not want to be coaching yourself during a fight.
No. No.
And when
That'll get you slammed in the face.
and when you're training, what you train, you will do. Do you want to talk about
Mentally
this? Because
and physically
you have a
and
lot of
emotionally.
experience of fighting in the ring. You've fought more
Do
than
I?
any Westerner ever in Thailand. So what's your experience with the inner coach in the ring? And how has that evolved for you?
Well, Well, I don't know what. There is a part that makes sense to me, which is like, when you're training, that's the time to consciously make corrections, to consciously try something, to like, was this good or bad? And then when it's fight time, it's like all of that goes away and you just kind of go into this other mode. That's a very magical situation you're trying to create, where it's like, once I get in the fight, I'll just let everything go. If you're not practicing how to let everything go, and that doesn't mean that you just like show up to the gym and like, let's see what happens either. Like, you need to have concentration and focus and guidance and things like that. But it's a difficult thing to balance, because ultimately what I've experienced is that I have practiced and become very proficient at telling myself what I'm doing wrong, staying 2 steps behind what's actually happening, because I'm still judging myself for something that just happened there.
And nobody saw it but you.
I don't know, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but like the staying in the moment, which is what Vipassana is all about, that's the thing you should be practicing. Like, you can know the mistake happened, but don't stay with it, like, keep moving kind of thing. But the thing that I've experienced with trying to tell myself to do something in a fight,
Oh yeah.
I will not do that thing.
When you
Like, I will do
what you're
literally
and what
everything
you're
else.
talking about, you're like, my goal is to jab this fight like that.
My brother John is a sports psychologist, and I remember him telling me, have 3 things that you want to do in each fight. And so you like come up with 3 things.
Yeah.
And they can be awesome things. Like, I want to breathe,
Yeah.
I want to relax, and I want to throw my left hook,
Yeah.
kind of thing. I won't do any of those
None.
things.
We
if I
found this
list
out.
them.
Now this other people might be great at doing this,
And
but we found this
if
out.
I don't list them, if I pick 3 other things that I would never do, like I'm going to do 2 spinning back elbows, a flying knee, and a headbutt, then I might breathe, throw some left hooks.
Yeah.
Like,
But what we found out for many years of making these reasonable lists, they just would not happen. And so we learned in your case, that's not the process. And part of this is
No,
you
it
just need
creates
to learn
tension.
what the process is for you.
yeah.
This is my thing. I'm like, and this is the beauty of fighting. You can have all kinds of good ideas and approaches to fighting. But in real fights, and what I mean in real fight is when you start getting your heart rate up really high and you're under duress for whatever reason, pressure, physical pain, embarrassment, but there is pressure on you. What will happen is you will go to your deepest grooves. You will go, every single person will go, the best fighter who ever lived will go to their deepest grooves, and you want to have some say what those deep grooves are.
Yeah.
And that means, that's why Dieselnoy is like, after the hardest pad work round you ever had, you better fucking stand up straight and look victorious and breathe deep, because he's making the deepest groove for him. He's making the groove that will come out when he's under the most self-doubt.
Yeah.
You cannot fake that. In real fight, there are people who might have careers where they don't get into real fights very often. There are a lot of favorable circumstances. They have size advantages. They don't ever get to that really bad place. But the art of fighting is about that deep groove. And I'm like, so I'm saying, train, this is part of that thing, that non-judgmental attitude towards your own errors. You want to have a pretty good deep groove on not judging your errors, because you're going to be making errors in real fights. And you want to be able to observe and move. Observe and move. You
Yeah.
move on. Your mind moves on.
Yeah.
And I think that's something you have to train. And that's something we're working on more.
And it's also, you don't necessarily have to categorize things as mistakes. It's like how I've said for a long time, getting hit is not a mistake. Is
Oh, I
all
like
the,
your
all the
graph
things
idea.
that I'm correcting when
Yeah.
I'm doing my 500 elbows, they're not mistakes in a like right and wrong sense. The graph that you just mentioned is like, if you're plotting points on a graph, you need the outliers. Like, you need all the spots on the graph to be there, and then you'll start seeing this center line of the average or the flow or the correction like coming out through the middle. But the more points you have for reference, the
Totally.
more observational knowledge you have to work with.
Totally. Okay, we can go to the next one. That was a very good one. Rolling. Next topic.
We're going to talk about Sylvie's favorite subject.
If you guys knew how shy Sylvie is, it's unreal that you're so shy and we spend so much time focusing on you. There are people who don't know Sylvie who think she's like some crazy egomaniac or something because we put so much Sylvie stuff out. You have to be brave and put stuff out in order to inspire other people. If there are not examples, if you're not telling your story, no one else is going to tell your story as a woman. You got to put your stuff out there. Sylvie's overcome so much fucking shyness to put herself out there, and she had to develop a healthy ego about presentation. But there are people out there that do not understand Sylvie is like a very shy person, and at times keeps a pretty low valuation. Like, it's not like you're like, I'm the best kind of person.
I talk like that all the time.
Yeah.
Like when I walk in the door.
Totally, baby.
I'm like, Kevin, I'm just the greatest.
Yeah.
There
are people who actually think you think that way. You need to develop, so one of the things Sylvie's had to develop is a healthy ego, because as a fighter you have to have a healthy ego because you're imposing yourself on another person. In public, people judging you, but it's had to overcome a lot of self-criticism, willingness to be really harsh on yourself.
Well, it's particularly difficult because as a fighter, especially if it's something that's taken over your life like Muay Thai did ours, because it's not just my life, it's totally swallowed yours as well, because our life.
Wonderfully so.
I did refer to it as our nausea. The thing about it is that you do have to be working on yourself all the time. Like, we're just talking about observing and paying attention to all these small details and knowing this from that and all this stuff. Is I have to be looking at myself all the time. It's not easy.
And this developed, actually, this connects to something you realize, that how you are out of the ring, you're in the ring. And how you are in the ring, you're out of the ring.
Yeah.
That not everybody believes this. They believe in beast mode and alter personalities, right? A lot of people do feel that way, but Sylvie's fought over 260 times, and this is her truth, that she's come to realize that if she wants to reach certain levels of performance that she dreams of, she has to work on herself all the time.
Yeah, it's also a moving target. Like, I remember writing in one of my earliest blog posts, because I was blogging like as soon as I had started Muay Thai, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
The thing that was kind of amazing about it to me was that, like, it's that whole you can never step in the same river twice kind of thing, is that just by getting in the ring, and eventually I came to realize just by training, you don't come out of it the same. Like, they might not be huge differences, but you are not the same ever. Like, you have consistencies and things like this. Like, I can look at a picture of myself when I was 2 and be like, that's me, but the things in common between that and me are very...
when you say that, the ring to me is like a fucking like time portal, parallel Marvel universe that splits, and when you come out of that ring, that is a parallel universe branch of yourself that would not have been...
Yeah,
but that
and
would not have been.
You can't anticipate what the change is going to be. It's kind of like Quantum Leap, where he's just like showing up in new bodies all the time and like, let's figure out what to do with this new situation now. But the thing is, it's not random, and it's not like uncontrollable, like completely out of your control. You shape yourself purposefully in a lot of ways. But I think that the ways in which we've tried to change me in certain directions intentionally, and then the ways that things have changed just because there's water pressure in the stream and it's going to cut this way kind of thing. It's a lot of things, and it's very hard to track, I think. Sometimes I go back and read old blog posts, like really old blog posts, and I'm like surprised that I understood something back then that I think I don't really understand anymore now. But the whole point
I feel
of
like
this,
we're talking big generalities.
yeah, that's why I'm trying to get to the point. The point is we're now working on Sylvie 3.0 because circumstances have made it so that I have never spent more than 10 days out of the gym. Was it 10 days when I had my concussion?
I think it was. And outside of that, more than a couple of 3 days, maybe.
I am
for
always,
8 years.
always training. I'm always at the gym. I'm back at the gym the next day after a fight, like all of these things. And Kevin mentioned earlier, we are now in this like COVID lockdown. Everything's closed, social distancing. I'm doing my training by myself in the apartment at home. We're working together. Fights are not around. Like there are no fights. And so the idea is, how do you take those extraordinary, very different circumstances from which I've been working for 8 years now in Thailand and focus on Sylvie 3.0?
Well, I want to, this is, actually, I'm a little bit at war with you on this because you framed Sylvie 3.0 as responding to all these unfortunate limitations as a reaction to. And I'm like, fuck that. We are not reacting to the shutdowns, the various degrees of shutdowns that are going to happen in the world over the next year. Sylvie has always taken these like giant fucking goals. Like first it was 50, then 100 fights, then 200 fights, now 471. Giant goals. The purpose of giant goals is to create just a fucking limitless pasture where you just run and run and run and run, and your goal, your milestones are like nobody else's. Like you are not measuring yourself on did you beat the best girl in your weight class or win this belt or all these things that people legitimately take as milestones. We create goalposts, horizon lines that are just fucking out there. And part of the reason we do that is we do not want to be constrained by and reactionary to events in the world. Like, this promoter won't get you that belt fight. Fuck all promoters. Fuck all belts. Like, we're not going to react to those kinds of things. So how do you create a goalpost? Like, normally our goals are 2+ fights a month now. We want to get around 30 fights a year, right? Not happening. There's no fights. There's not going to be any fights. And when they come back, you're going to have no control over what fights there will be and how slowly they'll come back.
Or who comes back to fighting after this.
Whatever. Muay Thai in Thailand and around the world might be seriously damaged, especially female fighting. So how do we create a picture? This is my thinking. That is not reactionary to limitations. Because you do not want to go through the most important ambitions of your life reacting to disappointment or frustration. Like, there's no fights, there's no fights, there's no fights. You keep hearing that, and then you react and react. I'm like, for a year, it's probably going to be a year. For a year, let's make a fucking goal of something that cannot be taken away from us. Assuming your health, right? Because people are challenged in health. And I'm like, let's go through Sylvie 3.0. Let's come out a year from now, a totally different fighter. But totally different in the sense that you've leveled to another place. We don't even know what that place is really, right? And I'm like, this might involve fighting. Fighting might be back in 3 months. Some, 6 months, 9 months. We don't know. But we're like, let's just give it a whole year. And maybe you don't fight one time in that year because you don't have control over that. What Sylvie 3.0 is scraping together all the resources to level yourself up to something else. That's me.
Yeah, I understand. You are right that the way I framed it was this like, I don't have this, so I have to do this kind of thing. Wrong framing. But I've never been in situations where, okay, you don't get to fight. So how do you really focus on, and what do you really focus on when you don't have fighting as part of your training? Because I am not
you had it in New York. This is why we left New York. was
That was
very
so
frustrating.
long ago. That was
Very-
so long
yeah,
ago.
very
But
very
my
frustrating.
thing has always been fighting is part of training.
Yes.
It is not a like fight camp, train, then take your test to see whether you pass in your fight. Did you do the right thing? Like whatever.
That's why we fought a lot.
Yeah, and now I don't have that.
High repetition
So it's like,
fighting.
what do you pick to work on? How do you work on those things? How do you develop, and like what are the goalposts? Because honestly, fights are kind of a like, how is this developing process? And without that, it's going to be interesting to even see how those changes are observed.
I want to be done with that. How are you developing? Fights are not for that anymore. This is just me. As you can hear in my attitude, I'm very warlike towards boundaries and hurdles imposed on us. Mm-hmm. I'm very warlike about it. I'm like, I would like it if it doesn't even matter. Fights in the future, you're going to keep going and fighting, but what it means is it's just like water over the stone. Fight a lot to see how water over the stone shapes you.
Yeah, but you're also one of the first people after a fight to jump on me and be like, you fought that fight like you would have 2 years ago.
That does not. We can fight this out right now on camera if you want.
I'm saying that fights, because of the pressure, which is very hard to recreate in training circumstances.
Well, we'll get you. Look, you've changed your relationship to judging yourself by fights.
For sure.
Over time.
For sure.
And it also took a fucking long time for you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
After 100 fights, you weren't that different than you were on fight 20.
Mm.
And I'm like, one of the blessings of fighting this much is being able to get to a different attitude towards what a fight means.
Mm.
And I'm like really looking forward to you getting to that place where a fight just means something very different.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, maybe we can lay the groundwork for that now.
Totally.
Like,
build the whole fucking apartment complex today. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then when you start fighting, you have a different perspective
Yeah.
because you are on a mission.
Yeah.
And to me, this mission is Sylvie 3.0.
Mm.
So what's Sylvie 3.0?
Come
on, baby.
I don't know. I don't know. We're working on things already. But
well, this is some things I've been thinking about is spar the fuck out of training. Like spar. More fluidity movement, more continuity, more, and I don't mean spar hard. I mean just do things in space and under some duress.
Improvisation.
Improvisational, more like you know how to play the instrument, now play the instrument in an orchestra.
Mm.
Like that's one of the things I'm thinking about. And you're going to need sparring partners, but it means you're going to have to spar with people who just are not appropriate.
Yeah.
Like 100 kilo farang.
Mm-hmm.
Little kids that you're like, little Thai boys that are
Just
too young.
tapping on,
yeah, and you're like, I got to tap. Like, I'm shy. I don't want to ask this little kid to spar with me, but Dawoot would be...
kick my ass in like fucking 2 years.
Totally.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's one of the things I'm thinking about taking control over is just trying to become like, if you can't fight, then spar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how you feel about that. You're very
No,
shy.
I think it's right now. Not even that is really possible, other than us sparring in the apartment. But that's the start. You just more and more of that.
Okay.
I want to be more free, like expressive.
What does that feel like? What does it look like? You want to be like unpredictably free? Creative?
No, I don't know. I guess it's more of a like how we were talking about. If I pick the 3 things I want to work on in a fight or do in a fight, those things will not happen. Yeah. I don't want to go in being like, I don't have a plan, just whatever happens, happens. I don't want to be like that either. But kind of a like, I know that no matter who I'm fighting, what the circumstances are, who I'm sparring, whatever the thing is, that my expression will come out.
There's somebody who made a really cool comment on the YouTube of the Diamond Guard, and they're like, I think this is one comment. I might be combining comments, but they were like fusion, Sylvie's developing her own style.
Mm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like, someone outside is starting to see, they're seeing Sylvie 3.0. They're seeing your creative feeling your way forward towards what you want to do, given the grammar and vocabulary of things you've trained in repetition.
Yeah, I think I've been working on that aspect for a long time, but I think that this change in program or of process is really going to be able to carve out the excess noise that makes it hard to focus on those things, because
yeah, you mentioned that a lot about the gym kind of like makes it so that you only focus on certain things habitually.
Yeah, or fights. I mean, I've fought so many times, and even since fight 50 or whatever, I've been like, okay, I have enough fights now, winning or losing doesn't matter. It never is that. Like, you never are like, I don't care if I lose this fight. Like, you might kind of be like that, but you're never like, I'll do whatever because honestly, this fight doesn't matter. Like,
oh, you're saying like you're not going into a fight being like, I'm just gonna jab the whole fight, maybe I'll lose.
Yeah, I'm saying that in the way that my style and my tensions and my whatever have been shaped by my fight opportunities, which is that I fight people who are so much bigger, longer, whatever. Like, it has shaped what I'm able to do because of those restrictions. That's because you're trying to win a fight. In the gym, if you go against someone who's exactly as much bigger as my opponents are, exactly as much, you know, aggressive or annoyingly staying away from me or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the whole Cronus, like, I lost in the gym every day kind of thing. Is like, I at least have gotten aware enough and calm enough in myself that I'm not trying to, like, win in sparring. Still maybe a little bit in clinch where I'm like, I don't want anyone to ever have a dominant moment on me, but that's just because I'm highly competitive in clinch. But in that context, to have that much time to have it really not matter, I think is like a growth spurt opportunity.
And one of the things also that I think is interesting about this Sylvie 3.0 idea that I've had as a long time is like, there's this no man's land, especially in female fighting, but it's also in all kinds of fighting, right between the clinch grab and blocking range, like typical checking range. And that the more you can fight in that zone with eyes, like growing eyes, like we've talked a long time about growing eyes. 3.0 is about growing eyes. Being able to have eyes in the dark of this no man's land. This is an area where a lot of people who can fight well close their eyes or do not see. They just throw the overhand right and close their eyes or turn away. If you can see, have eyes in that zone, you can get to the point where I think you can beat anyone in the world, any size. Because that zone is lights off for a lot of people. And especially female fighters don't spend a lot of time exploring that zone. And as a clinch fighter, it really is to your advantage.
That's interesting.
Tell me, well, what chain of thought did that, what domino chain did that hit?
Well, I don't know. People like to come up with crazy shit to be like, you know, why things are the way they are, who would win in a fight because of what, or, you know, just kind of like making stuff up. But if you had animals, right? A raccoon is not as big as a small bear or something. That's a pretty big size disparity. So like maybe a raccoon and a dog or something. And you're like, the dog's gonna win. The dog's bigger, the dog has more weapons, the dog, like, all of these different things. And you're like, yeah, but the raccoon can see in the dark. It's like, people don't, you'd be like, that is a pretty fucking big advantage. Like,
that's very interesting, baby.
Is that the understanding of distance and the ability to see, like Karahat's eyes. Diesel Noy kept saying in his fight with Samart, he's like, he has good eyes. He has such good eyes. He's talking about like being able to see what's happening and respond to it and solve things. Is like,
yeah, and fucking Sanchai fighting all these Farong is like a raccoon seeing in the dark. He can fucking see. He can see everything.
Yeah.
And then he touches you 2
And,
times,
like-
and like it's like throwing a sheet over a ghost.
And you give a gun to the raccoon.
Yeah,
You will win.
Totally.
Yeah.
But that's the area where I feel like we can do some 3.0 work for this year and just come out of the year next April with a whole different, like, eyes grown, no man land, when fighting in the no man's land right before the clinch grab, heart low, like heart rate low. We've been working on the diamond guard, which is like a kind of vehicle for maybe a shell of trying to, like, or a system, which I don't want to call it, for dealing, because of how people talk about fucking systems. You might laugh so much.
Because it's crazy that we have to, like, avoid key words because they automatically mean something that we don't want them to
It's
mean.
so ridiculous. Okay, whatever. So, but this is something that can get you in that development phase, this in-between foggy place that a lot of fighters just, that's why a lot of people love combination fighting, is that you learn your combination and you just do it. You hold your breath and you do your combo through the zone, which is the opposite of what I'm talking about. I'm like, learn to fucking breathe underwater. That's why boxers are so insanely superior than, let's say, normal kickboxing, Western kickboxing, Muay Thai stuff, is that boxers live in that zone. And it's so beautiful. They train and live in that zone. In Muay Thai, that's where one needs to go as a Westerner, is to that fluidity of what boxing, the eyes and the feelings. I think a lot of reason why boxers live in that zone. So what I do with you is I want you to feel, a lot of what they do is they feel pressure on their guard. They go glove to glove in that zone. They develop cat whiskers.
Yeah.
They can feel pressure and movement. They don't even have to see it. They can sense it and feel it. I think that's part of that too.
Well, that's another thing that Namkabuin was talking about, his fight with Decker, and Decker is totally a, like, combination type dude.
Yeah.
Not that he's a bad fighter, just very, like, you know it's going to be a punch low kick thing. And so Namkabuin was like, I just had to withstand the punches and then automatically block the low kick because I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It's like if a song rhymes,
You know.
what the word is that's coming. Like, sometimes I sing along to songs and you're like, how do you know this? And I'm like, oh, I've never heard the song before. They sang the chorus once before. But it's like, it rhymes, so you know what word is coming.
Yeah.
If you don't rhyme...
Yeah. Or you rhyme in a weird way, like a fucking...
Totally.
Well, you don't go A-B-B-A. You go A-B-C-B-A.
Right. Like... Shots riddled, the block little.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that word was coming, right? But
Totally,
I'm still
baby.
thinking
That
about
is
it.
it.
10
And
minutes
that's what
later.
Karahat does.
Totally.
That's what Karahat does.
Karahat is Nas, in case anyone is
Yeah.
making comparisons.
Totally. So what this subject is really about, and maybe other people can take it on their own thing, because everybody feels like they've had things taken from them, opportunities, their normal path of development. I'm like, reframe the whole fucking thing. Take a year off of whatever it is you were doing before and reframe your progress on something in some other way, and just be fucking like bloodhound on what that thing is. And it's clear from our conversation we're not locked in on exactly what that is, but I think we have I honestly think that it's almost, we have a non-verbal sense of what this is, because these are things we've been talking about for many years, about growing eyes, about this fluidity and intuition and expression of oneself, to not be interrupted. And I think elbow sparring, if Caro's out there, sparring, lots of like in-space pressure movements, lots of what we were talking about with high repetition training.
Yeah.
It's like non-judgmental exploration, but in space with a partner.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
More improvisational.
Yeah.
Like, the funniest comedians are people who spend a lot of time in improv.
That's true.
A lot of time.
And not just written bits. Boy, another Joe Rogan reference. Mark it down.
What?
No, it's
Not an improv guy.
I know, not written bits. And he's always talking about his written bits. And I'm sorry, I don't think Joe Rogan's made me laugh one single time, unfortunately, on purpose. But he's an awesome interviewer and dude. Do we want to talk about Diamond Guard in this context?
We could. It's one of the things we're working on that's going to be involved in this 3.0.
Yeah, let's do we're not going to do a heavy Diamond Guard thing, but let's talk a little bit about Diamond Guard.
Okay.
You want to lead the way on that?
No, you lead the way.
Me? What?
Okay, so I've been away from my gym for more than a month now. And something that we've been working on very intently is something that we're calling the Diamond Guard.
Here, let's stop this and start it again, just to make sure we don't run into the 30-minute thing. Rolling again. Diamond Guard.
So we're calling it the Diamond Guard, and I've actually just done a Sylvie's Technique vlog on this, so you can watch that and get a pretty good breakdown understanding of how I'm working on that and what that is. But basically, as a forward fighter, a knee fighter, a small fighter, my guard has been something that has been like a focal point for a really long time. And when we started developing this, it seems to have a lot of like Rosetta Stone solutions to it in terms of like.
Whoa, why do you use Rosetta Stone? That's kind of a cool analogy.
Because it allows us to understand what some of those weaknesses actually are rather than what they seem to be. And kind of something I say a lot when I'm talking about training with the legends for the Muay Thai library is that people teach different techniques for one thing, and people are always like, is it confusing that one person teaches it this way and another person wants it that way? And it's like, it's not confusing because you can see how it works with everything else that they do. Like the reason Yod Kun Pan or Diesel Noi tell you not to lean back on knees is not confusing at all because you can see how they're using that. Whereas Karahat, when I go train with him and don't lean back on my knees and he's like, no, make that really long, I'm like, yeah, I understand why he wants it really long because it plugs into everything that he's doing. It makes sense. So the understanding of like how this guard seems to actually release knots around me instead of tying more knots.
It's so amazing. It like unlocks shit.
Yeah.
It's fucking like a skeleton key for you for some reason. And can you flash the Diamond Guard so people who are watching?
Sitting here?
Yeah, just so people know.
This.
So that's the basic form of it, and lots of shit comes out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just saying it unlocks stuff. I get should we be philosophical about this or?
Well,
how do we talk about
quite
this?
Unphilosophically. Most very protective guards are stagnant, and strikes don't really come out of them easily. You're either super blocking or striking, and you can kind of flash in and out of them. They're very temporary. The cool thing about this guard is that in the way that we're working on it, and this is not really how it's used necessarily in its variations, that it looks like these other things that people use, like Archie Moore has one, George Foreman has one, who else? Fulmer,
Frazier kind
Lots
of use
of
it a little bit.
boxers use this, and they do punch out of it because it's got this like rolling thing to it. But with Muay Thai, you also have knees and kicks and things like this. I have a really hard time striking
out of guard,
or even going into guard because I want to be striking, so I don't guard because I'm like I want to strike, and so I actually don't do either.
Well, we were talking about how defense and offense should be fluid. You shouldn't be on defense and then on offense. This guard allows you to kind of like really be in both at the same time. Like there's moments where you're defensive when you have your elbow forward. If you take one step, you're on offense. You're poking them with your elbow. Like
Totally.
it is the quickest connection from offense to defense that I've ever seen in any guard. It is surreal how much that is the case. The question is, can we unlock it under pressure. Like when you get back to sparring, we're gonna have to play a lot around with this. But there's so many weapons that come out of very defensive weapons. Like if you have your elbow up like this is a very defensive position. Matter of fact, there's defensive systems that are like, this is the most instinctive position of a human being, is to ward off with your arm in the air, like as an animal.
Yeah, it's the whole like defense wounds.
Yeah, exactly, defensive wounds. So
True crime listener.
Totally. So you put your hand here, this is the most defensive thing. You have a weapon sitting right here.
Yeah.
It's just, now it's a weapon. 1 inch.
Yeah.
1 step forward, half a step, roll of the shoulder. So there's some really cool transitions from defense to offense. And you are like in the most protected into the most offensive. You are like hitting the gas in your transition so fast that it's very interesting to me from almost a theoretical perspective, just in terms of exploration. And what's kind of cool also is that so much of what you do is learning from legends, techniques that are threatened to be lost, right? Trying to like integrate them because you have attachment and love for various techniques and styles. What's cool about this is it really doesn't come out of Muay Thai. Like, this is a boxing guard adapted by, well, Gansak used it, who was a boxer also, not a prolific boxer, but he was a Muay Thai fighter there. He taught it, but it's a flashing guard up high, but generally it's a guard that's used in boxing below the shoulder. So the way you're using it isn't really ever been used in Muay Thai thoroughly that we've ever seen. So you are sketching out a future of offense and defense that has very little reference. Like, you're not imitating something. You're just making it up. Like the Samrak elbow, Samrak kind of made that up. Like, he adopted a Baran elbow.
Yeah, I mean, in Baran,
do you know what I mean?
In Baran, you've got a lot of the like
the internal movements.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it, you're not like, I'm gonna do this Baran thing.
No, it doesn't look
Like
Baran
you were
either.
doing it a little bit, and I'm like, hey, that's Baran.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, really? What? Or yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
But it's like, what I'm saying about this guard is that it's one of the areas. It's like virgin snow. You don't have to judge yourself whether you did something well or not.
Yeah, you're cutting a new path.
You're cutting a totally new path, and you're like, how does it feel? Like the things we were.
You know how to say it.
What are you doing?
Checking your battery.
Okay, but keep talking. I go get a glass of water.
How feel?
Keep talking, baby.
About what? You were talking. The thing
The
about
virgin ground part.
I think that because of my personality, or like the things that we've talked about how I get very inner coachy and like hung up on, and even women being correct in technique and things like this, is that you're not aiming towards the correct thing and how close am I to the thing. Like, you have the reference and then you're trying to draw it and you have to keep looking at the reference and you're like, how close is it? God, I'm a shit drawer because it doesn't look anything like the reference. Is that the references are influences rather than like I'm trying to recreate this painting or something.
Totally.
And so it's not trying to get close to that. It's just trying it on and like feeling where it's going.
Yeah, where it's strong, where it's weak, what feels good, what do I like?
Yeah.
Like, I like this elbow out of it, but that one, you could do it, but I don't feel it. And even the people that use this guard to the best advantage, like somebody like Archie Moore, who fucking fought 100 years of fighting. Like, he was fighting until he was in his late 40s, I think. You can't fight that way in Muay Thai. Like, what he does, you can't do that in Muay Thai because you get elbowed, you get kneed, you get kicked. But you could look at what he's doing and you can be like, well, I could do that for a second in Muay Thai. Like that roll. I can't do it all fight long, but it can be part of my rhythm or something. Like, I don't know, the references are inspiration references, like you were saying, rather than this is the right way of doing it.
Yeah.
Because nobody has ever done this that I know of in at least regular high volume fighting.
It reminds me of my hatred for
You don't say that
people
often.
talking about overtraining as though it's something that you can Google and know exactly where those numbers are, and if you just stay under that number, you're not overtraining. It drives me crazy because I hate people telling other people what they can't do. It drives me nuts. Why would you waste your breath on this?
Yeah.
Is that, unfortunately, we're getting mostly very smart, positive, and people who actually seem to know me pretty well, and they're like, this really works well for you because of these things. We are occasionally getting people who fall in that thing I hate about the overtraining category, which is
can't do that.
You can't do this because of that, and it's like you've never seen it before. You've seen that thing that won't work, and no, that won't work, but that's not what's happening.
You don't even know what this is.
It's this other thing.
Yeah.
It's like some alien thing that looks kind of like a bird comes down, and you're like, well, that can't fly because its wings aren't exactly angled out this way, and then it flies, and you're like, huh, nope.
A lot of people want to be nope.
Can't fly.
Totally. And this is the cool thing. It's great after you try so hard to do things the right way, to have a part of your life, your creative life, that's just Sketchpad.
Yeah.
Like, everyone should have Sketchpad. Right? That's one thing I like about, Brandon Waters or Jeff Chan, MMA Shredded. I can feel them sketchpadding. They're training, trying shit. And I'm like, it feels good that when fighters have Sketchpad going. And this is it's exciting. This 3.0 is kind of this is part of your Sketchpad to create this shell that can move through space. I mean, one of the cool things about this basic, very strong defense is you're attaching it to things like Yodkompan's footwork, which is this incredibly fast, beautiful space closing gallop. When you get a firm fucking guard, traditionally you're planted, you're fixed.
Yeah, you're bracing.
You're bracing for
something. And then you can come out. Yeah.
This is like a tank that can turn on a dime and drive 60 miles an hour, like a sports car. It's like a tank sports car. Those things don't go together. But if you can put Yodkompan's gallop with this kind of guard together, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that in fighting ever, man or woman. And I'm like, who knows? This could be something you just flash into 5% of the time in a fight.
Yeah.
Or you spend 70% of a fight in it. Who fucking knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
We don't know.
Yeah, but it's fun to explore the feelings and the techniques that are involved in it. So you can go see the technique vlog. Sylvie has I think a 5-minute version on this, and then there's a 12-minute version on it on Patreon for patrons. The
5-minute one is public, so anyone can see that.
Yeah, we'll try to link that in the notes. Link both of those, and we're probably going to put up some of the training that we've been doing together, early training repetitions in this guard, just feeling what is weak, what is strong, what habits do you want to build, what feelings, emotional feelings do you want to have. We'll put up some of that training for some of our higher tier patrons probably, so they can see all the mistakes, which are actually the most valuable parts.
Yeah.
You know, it's before, everybody wants to fucking show shit
highlight,
knockout, reverse elbow, whatever that.
I'll reveal it when it's perfect.
Well, yeah, totally. And cut out all the boring stuff. We actually love all the boring stuff because that's the real stuff.
Yeah, it's like skate videos. You get to see them do it so well, and you're like, God, how many times did they fall to make it work?
Yeah.
And then after they've shown it looking really good, they tend to show all the times they fell. You're kind of like, wow.
Because the fall is the real stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the real stuff.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
I was thinking to myself, you were talking about how the lack of fights or whatever just create this opportunity to focus on things. I was actually thinking about Bank. Bank is the son of my trainer, Krunu, and I've known him now for 6 years.
He was very little when you
very little when we first went there. He's a very sweet kid. He's awesome. When he was younger, he's only 19 now, but when he was younger, he was very experimental in the gym. He was always bouncing off of things and running on the bag in order to kick it 4 times in a row and stuff. And if he doesn't have a fight scheduled, he's allowed to skateboard. And he's one of these super athletic people who can see something and imitate it, and he's just really gifted at you know, throwing himself into something and learning the kick flip, and he's like very like focused. But he can only do this when he doesn't have a fight scheduled, because if he gets hurt on his skateboard, it's a problem for the fight because he's a professional fighter. There are no fights right now.
Yeah.
So he gets to skate a lot, which means he might actually be improving as a Muay Thai fighter by skating all the time.
We got to bring some of that skate stuff into his, like, encourage him when you come back to the gym, encourage him to do more experimental stuff.
Yeah. Hey, ollie off of Alex's face.
Totally. Totally. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so that was, on to the next subject. Maybe we just stop this. Next topic, switching things up as we do.
Now for something completely different.
Totally. You're so cute. I love you. I was reading up about the Maechi, which are it's a level of ordination in Thai Buddhism of what maybe is roughly translated as like a Thai nun. So women who devote themselves to Buddhism in Thailand are not allowed to take full monkhood ordination.
They're not recognized as fully ordinated. Or they're not allowed to do the process at all.
They're not allowed to do the process. And if they do it find some way to do it through other organizational relations, it's not recognized. Mm-hmm. So if you're a devout female Buddhist in Thailand, I think the highest ordination you can do, and by ordination, the vows you take, is to become a Maechi, a nun. And you'll see them in Thailand, they're dressed in white, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was reading a book, a study, a kind of field study on the Maechi, and it was kind of about the lives of these women, that they've devoted themselves to a spiritual goal, just like men, but they're denied full recognition of full ordination as a monk. There's great controversy over this because there are branches of Buddhism which do allow female ordination. They're called bhikkhuni, right? Mm-hmm. And for centuries after Buddha...
I think it's bhikkhuni.
Bhikkhuni. Centuries after Buddha, there was female ordination. It died out at a certain point, was brought back for certain branches, and then, but Theravada Buddhism, especially Thailand's Theravada Buddhism, does not allow ordination.
Yeah. So the rule on that, according to Thai official, why these women are not recognized, is that there is a specific process by which ordination happens, and at some point that line was broken, and because that line was broken, it cannot exist anymore.
Well,
and they just won't restart it.
The problem was there were no more female monks. Mm-hmm. Bhikkhuni, I think. Bhikkhuni. Mm-hmm. No more female monks, and the process involved you being ordained by a male and a female monk. So there were no more female monks, so now there was no way to ordinate.
Yeah.
Because you need a line of females to create more female monks. That was the reasoning. So there's great debate about this, and Venerable Ananda?
Ananda, yep.
Yeah, there is a woman in Thailand who's fully ordained. She was ordained in Sri Lanka and has come trying to establish female monkhood. She's devoted her entire life to this.
She's amazing. She's so amazing.
Sylvie went to go interview and talk with her. Her mother herself was ordained as a female monk in another branch of Buddhism, but they've basically generationally devoted themselves to this. So this is a very controversial dimension of Buddhism. But this is what I wanted to talk about, and this connects all the way to Muay Thai, for me, which is these female nuns, the Maechi, who do take a degree of vow ordination, in society are actually not looked on with great admiration. That in Thai in the maturation of a Thai male, ideally that male will go and ordain as a monk for a short time.
There's a pretty universal standard that every Thai male in Thailand will ordain at least once for at least a day.
I think it's longer than that, but...
Well, the ordination you're thinking of that's like a rite of passage,
yes,
that's longer, but
like
even if like your grandmother
something.
dies, you'll ordain for that day, so that's an ordination of some kind.
And these acts of ordination by Thai males, young teens, I think, often confer great merit upon... One reason why they do these ordinations is they give great merit to their parents. It influences the karma and fate of their parents. It's thought to.
This is in the movie Ongbak, actually.
Oh, I don't remember that.
The funny guy, Mam, who's like living in the city, Hamle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His parents really want him to come back for ordination because it is like, in the way that in the West, like your daughter's wedding day is like, oh my God, this is the greatest day of like your mother's life or whatever. Ordination day for the parents of the boy who's ordaining is like, that will be their photo.
It is a big deal. And that I was reading in this book, there's stories, Thai religious fable stories of parents that were saved from hell, like actual hell, because their boy ordained.
Right, and women can't ordain, so having a son.
Totally. So read what's going on here. It is a normal rite of passage for a young male, to ordain for some time, and sometimes this is very short periods of time, which confers great merit, karmic merit on the parents, great pride of the family. It is a big moment. And a big component of ordination is the celibacy you vow to forever, whatever that time is. Celibacy, that the control over your own sexual desires is a major kind of like impression of what ordination is about.
Right, and this often takes place at a time, a young man who's like at an age that's ready to marry is called sot in Thai, which means ripe or fresh. So part of your rite of passage into being ready to be married and honorable and like this is a good catch is ordination.
In the book they use the word suk. Well done.
Like well cooked.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they look at me when I order your bacon.
It could be.
Like I need myself a well-cooked man.
So we're painting a picture here of basically male maturation, where you're coming on as a teen, you become like, you have that sexual awakening, then you symbolically control your desires as a monk, and then you come out and then you're expected to kind of like start a family. But a big part of this image is of controlling oneself. Like you're constraining not just your sexuality, but sexuality is a big component of what this is about. Women, on the other hand, that move towards this Buddhistic commitment are not viewed in the same way. They are not part of the great ascension of individualhood. And a lot of these nuns are actually, even though they're doing beautiful things, they devote their lives to religious commitment and helping the community, and the values and practices of meditation are often seen like popularly as like women who've been heartbroken and abandoned, maybe homely, like spinsters and failures in life.
Like it's sad.
Sad, something sad about them, that then they took refuge in the church, so to speak. And instead of like males become monks, it becomes one of the great ideals of masculinity, women who do this are actually seen as failures in many ways, even though they're doing the same things and they're making the same commitments and similar vows of celibacy, but they're seen as not being part of the picture of their gender. And I'm just like, what really struck me, this is where we're coming around to the Muay Thai thing. One of the most beautiful things about Muay Thai And we witnessed this at Petron Room, which is a real fucking family gym, who is most serious not about the Western customers, they're about the Thai boys. And part of that is that Bank was raised in the gym. It was shaped around that, and his fighters that came up with him. Pinu takes a very fatherly approach to these boys, but you can feel the principles of Muay Thai are very much like the principles of moving towards monkhood. In monkhood, it's often a symbolic control of oneself. But what Thai boys of very young, even of a very young age, like 8 or so, and we have little boys around the gym that aren't even old enough to really learn this stuff yet. They're just barely learning it, like the Dragon set, Jade Dragon set. But the process of Muay Thai in Thailand is really about a masculine process of self-control. Controlling yourself in fear, under pain, under judgment. And maybe you can talk a little bit about this. This is why Muay Thai is different in Thailand than probably anywhere in the world, because it's part of a larger cultural project of maturation.
Well, one of the things that I love so much about Muay Thai since the beginning is its masculinity, its performance of masculinity, which I fucking love. And me being a woman does not separate me from wanting to perform those same markers of masculinity. That's what's so cool. But a lot of the things that we've talked about as Buddhistic principles that apply to Muay Thai in previous Muay Thai Bones episodes, like Ning, like Oton, these different things, these are masculinity that is applied both to monks and to Nakmuay in terms of how do you gain control over yourself. So,
well, wait 1 second. I'm running low on battery. I don't want to get cut off, so
okay,
let's stop that.
Rolling.
Nice.
So we were talking about
Oton, Ning, things we find in Muay Thai, principles of Muay Thai that are Buddhist.
Yeah, markers of masculinity that are taught to monks but are taught to Nakmuay as well. And things that I have definitely directly observed in the gym of what Krunu, my trainer, expects of his Thai boys. He doesn't do this so much with Farang men because they're giant babies who are past the point of being able to be taught these things, I guess. But there's an expectation of controlling emotions. Young boys, like you were talking about the Jade Dragon set, they're all like 8 or 9 years old, but they're very tiny, so they kind of come off as like 7 or 8. They train together. They're actually a set of 4 that are like, I think, brothers with each other in various pairings.
Oh. Thank you, baby.
But they'll spar together and clinch together, and they cry a lot. Like, they just cry all the time. And if the other older Thai boys are around helping with their training, they get chastised hard for their crying. There's no, like, pat on the cheek, it's okay. Sometimes Krunu will be very patient and take the one that's crying out to calm down for a minute, but he lets him know you're going back in. Like, you just need to calm down, but you're going back in. You do not get to stop by crying.
But there's a very gentle, like, shaping, allowing you to not be fully in control of your emotions because of your age, but still shaping you towards this ideal of self-control.
Right. And then if you're older than this, you should know better by now. You're not a baby anymore. If you lose your cool in sparring, like you get emotional and actually try to hurt your sparring partner, you can get taken out back and slapped. Like, you fucking learn to control that, and you get like 2 warnings, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's like, you control that. And it's what's being taught in terms of like preparing boys to be men in 2 seemingly completely different environments. A lot of people in the West think that Muay Thai doesn't jive well with Buddhism, but it actually goes very well with Thai Buddhism. It is
hand in glove. This is what I'm actually trying to point to, is that in Thailand there is a cultural stream of moving towards the ideal, towards the monk. Even if you're not going to become a monk, like long term.
Yep.
I don't mean become a monk for 2 weeks, but for 3
Life,
years, or a life. there is a continuity of the sense of what is masculine. That, well, Buddhism, it is like every man is kind of moves along this stream, and this is very Buddhist. This is right on the nose of what Buddhism is, and a lot of it has to do with self-control, right? Muay Thai is a art of self-control, performed hyper-masculinity, and a great deal of this is very close to what's happening in that Buddhistic monk path, which is about auton, discipline, self-control, being unaffected by duress or attack. And that this is happening, this is really what is happening to Thai boys in Thai gyms everywhere, all over the country. It's a rite of passage of self-control into manhood and maturity, like to be an ideal.
To be a man.
To be a man. And you get this in like American football or baseball. You get in Little League. You get similar things happening.
This is interesting because there's a duality of how Muay Thai fighters are seen, which is that they kind of fall into this Nak Lang thing, which is that they're like violent and low class and whatever. But they're also very like clean cut in the way that like American football, you'd be expected to be clean cut. Like if you're on the high school football team, that means that you're not out partying. We know in the reality.
Well, part of that clean cutness is that they're fighting against their own image, their own low class. Like they have to be that way in a way.
But something that I was telling you is that when we have these Y crew days at the gym, we all gather in the ring and we have our teachers, our crew, line up in front of us, and they always give us a short speech each about like, be good, like live a good life, blah blah blah. But something that Krunu's dad, Bomrung, who founded the gym, he's my dad's age, so 70 something, and Diesel Noi, who was a crew at our gym for 6 months, he sat and like gave us probably one of the best speeches I've ever heard. They often say we are not just teaching you Muay Thai, we are teaching you how to be good people in life. And those are not, they're not supposed to be separate. The things that you're supposed to do to be good in Muay Thai, this Ning, Aton, Kayan, like all of these things that are like discipline, self-control, abstinence, like all of these things make you a good person.
And you get elements of this in like Asian martial arts, like karate, budo, the kind of like
the code,
the perfecting of yourself through your martial art. But these are not fighting arts where you actually are fighting. In Muay Thai, it's an actual national sport, full contact, bloody fights. The art has those elements of martial art ideals of good human being, Buddhism. But then it's also brought into the context of like American football or baseball, or I don't know other countries because we were raised as Americans. But
how many miles from America is that?
No, but I don't know if soccer's taught this way or not.
I don't know either. Like soccer clubs, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that is, but there is a model of masculinity that in Thailand runs very close to the monk masculinity, and it's all about self-control. But Diesel Noi talking about his like weight cutting. For the Samart fight, he was just saying, all of it is about controlling myself. The way he is teaching Bank to not collapse like a theatrical European between rounds is like, have some self-control. The control is about changing your character and your behavior as a man. This is what's really cool to me, circling back. Well, here, I want to take a side path here. This is what is seriously threatened by this whole, it's good for Muay Thai to have kickboxing-like fusions. The international style, which celebrates forward fighting, aggression, volume of punches thrown.
Jumping up on the ropes to celebrate your thing.
The bukao, anime face, all this stuff. I understand there is a whole Western and also Japanese, there is this anime Japanese thing too, expression of what fighting means and what a good fighter is and admirable in a fighter. But Muay Thai has had for hundreds of years an aesthetic of self-control under duress. It is expressed in the kinds of strikes, the kinds of the emphasis on balance after strikes, the methods of controlling somebody through defense and retreat and evasion. These things are woven into the very character of what Muay Thai is to Thais, which goes right along with this monkhood ideal. And when you create Max Muay Thai, Super Champ Muay Thai, all these hybrid, some of one championship Muay Thai, this alternate vision of Muay Thai, you are tearing at the fucking fabric of what Muay Thai is, which is this maturation process of what a man is.
Well, Ajahn Surat, when he was complaining about 3-round fights in MMA gloves and things like this, he said, this is not a gentleman's Muay Thai. This is not... Well, Muay Thai is for gentlemen.
It's for gentlemen. And he has some of the... He has a vicious style that he teaches.
And a fucking sailor mouth.
Totally. Totally. But he was like, this is not what Muay Thai is. Yeah. This is not the mode of masculinity.
Well, how do you tie that in? You originally brought this up because you were talking about the bikini. So how do you bring this up to women not being fully brought into a
this is the thing is
factory of masculinity.
This is the thing is that it's very liberating for Western women to leave their culture, come to a new culture where they don't see all the guideposts. So they don't necessarily see the judgments that held them down. They're embraced in a lot of ways by Thai gyms, and they can benefit a lot from the ideals of masculinity that are being taught. Because in a certain regard, great Muay Thai is genderless. The principles of Ying, of self-control, of balance that create beautiful Muay Thai for a man do so for a woman as well. And it's like there is a great liberty for Western women to kind of move through the Thai masculinity process. And I think Western men too, that they get a kind of like dose of uber masculinity in a certain regard. What's complicating is once you've been in that process a lot, just like these women who want to become monks, there's no place to graduate. And I say this for Western women and Thai women, like Sao Singh, Chomani, the Pechi Jha, the great fighters of, female fighters of Thailand. They are somewhat like female ordained Maechi. They have the same ambitions as males, but there is no monkhood to graduate to where it is respected in the same way. And if we had to draw the analogy, the fact that women cannot fight at or touch the ring of Lumpini or Rajadamnern is exactly the same kind of barring that makes their devotion readable.
It's unrecognized.
It's recognized, unrecognized. And there are people who follow great Maechi, female nuns, who devoted their entire lives to religious practice and respect them.
Gansak in the Sorplunget gym is very connected to that very famous Thai nun. I don't know her name.
So it's not like they're completely unrecognized, but as a field of merit, as an act of maturation, that self-control does not read the same way because of gender. And I am saying, and I have this feeling like, yes, women can train and adopt the the markers of masculinity, which actually invoke genderless values. Like, this is how one should be in life, but they do it so still in a gendered way, which prevents them from being readable. Do you understand what I mean by readable? It's like there might be a female nun who has spent 20 years meditating, a forest nun, like a forest monk, but not without the ultimate ordination. And there will be a male monk who spent 20 years in the forest meditating. One is very readable. He's a great spiritual leader.
Yeah.
The other, who knows what is thought about her, but it's not the same thing.
Good job.
Good job. Good job. Yeah. And it's like, I'm kind of interested in this, if you mind me asking, because part of some of your frustration is, like we talked about before, women have to try extra hard to be recognized, right? Part of this frustration is you work really hard in your gym. You train, I'll just say, harder than anyone over the years. Just like a Maechi would go in the forest and meditate for 20 years. Like, you are fucking hardcore. You fight more than anyone. You're back at training more than anyone, and being back at training is considered like the mark of a real fighter. Arjan Gimyu, who has trained some of the greatest fighters ever, looks at you coming back, or the way you train, and he turns to me and he's like shaking his head, and he's like, if a Thai boy did this, he would be world champion. He would be Lumpini champion, like a superstar.
Right.
And he like shakes his head like this, and it's like, what I'm kind of saying is that your auton is not readable in some ways because of your gender.
Yeah.
It's not just that you're a farang.
It's like if you took that and put it on something that had potential. Awesome.
But it's structural potential because of the role of gender in culture. And that I'm really struck by this, that the Maechi is making the same exact personal commitments to the same principles, doing the same training. One becomes a venerated monk. The other one, some people are like, that's a homely girl who can't get a husband. And these Maechi very often end up becoming kind of housewives of temples. They do lots of cleaning and cooking, and they kind of take a female position to the monks. They're subordinate to the monks. They find themselves back in the gendered role. I don't know, you're very quiet on this stuff.
Well, I didn't do this reading on that. I don't know how
well, I'm always very concerned how I feel like you get pulled into the female role in your gym.
For sure. And since we're talking about Dejrat so much, it was amazing to me, and it shouldn't have been because I know how things work, but it was still amazing for me to see when I happened to go train at Dejrat at a time that the Thai national team was training, getting ready for IFMA, and top female fighters were there with the whatever male fighter. I don't pay attention to the male fighters that are on the IFBA team, but they were there. But we have Sao Singh, Loma, Chomani. I think those were the three that were there, and they were waiting for one more to come. They totally, partially as a way themselves to get out of training really hard, took on the like, I'll be the timekeeper, I'll get the water for people, blah, blah, blah. But it's also
supportive.
A very gendered, like, I'm being helpful.
Yes,
and I'm a feminist, and I'm like, I'm not going to fucking do that in a lot of ways for things. But then I totally, because I have been raised a woman in the world, I like feeling helpful. I do things because they're helpful, but because I'm a woman, they're readable as being a woman.
But you're talking about in your gym. Like, that's their gym.
In my gym.
They're being helpful in their gym. In your gym, you do tons of helpful but gendered things. And it's almost like there's just a quiet, it's not a pressure. I don't know what that is. It just, one finds oneself in those positions of being helpful in a gendered way, which then positions you as a non-fighter.
Yeah.
Kind of, like, right?
Yeah.
I'm not just saying this in a sad way. I'm saying, like, there is a gendered structural component to Thailand, and I don't know if this is the case all the time, but there are several examples of women who were fighters, fought some, and then have found themselves to be absorbed into gyms and kind of become the den mother of the gym, either by having relationships with Thai fighters or staying long term and kind of taking a managerial position. But you were a fighter, and now you become this kind of like maternal presence, and that's readable in Thai culture. And
That's being a good woman.
A good woman, like taking this position. And I'm like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but if your goal is to be a fighter, it's something you're always aware of. You should be aware of, because this can counter whether or not you're seen as a fighter or you're graduating into some other proper position. That's why I'm always fighting with you taking these positions. And there's a larger structural sadness where you have women who are devoted to fighting that have no readable place to go.
Yeah, and it's hard as well in Thailand because Thailand is so hierarchical and structured and roles, like you play your role kind of thing. You'd think that past a certain age, you're all just kind of the same age. In Thailand, you can be 60 and someone who's 57 is in like a different class than you.
Yeah.
Like, you're still both very respected, but I was pretty amazed, like, whenever the Yod Muay are kind of all together. Samson's in his 40s, but he's younger than everyone, so he's still like just the bratty little kid. They're like, go get me a beer.
Totally.
Like, he's in his 40s.
Totally.
Namkabun is, like, forever Nampon's little brother. Like,
yeah, even though Nampon is past. Yeah.
It's like, you will never age fast enough to be in a different class than
and I want to tell everybody who are like got there. I'm sure if you're one of these people, you have already said it to yourself several times in what I'm talking about. They're like, these are another culture's values. How dare you impose your feminist Western blah blah liberation bullshit? You want to know something that's so fucking unreal? This gender divide of male and female roles is Western. Like, what we consider traditional Thai gender roles was established in the early 1900s by the successive Thai governments, kings, that were trying to mimic Victorian values of European countries because they were trying to civilize themselves. Western countries were coming, Britain especially, to colonizing all of fucking Southeast Asia. Thailand, the only country not colonized, and one reason they argue that it was not colonized is that it hurried up and civilized itself and basically adopted Western gender differentiation. Not only role-playing, but also dress. That there was a time when there was not this strong distinction.
The West actually came and complained that Thai men and women looked the same.
Yes. And it was a sign of their savagery. So this is the fucking unreal thing, is that Thailand took on and some of this was laws passed, they were very, very sincere of modeling themselves on Western gender distinction.
It is still the case that if you work for the government, if you're a woman, you have to wear a skirt.
Yeah. Old school, still a little bit 1950s. And this is the thing. What we're talking about is actually what has now become Thai tradition was actually Western colonization. It's fucking weird. We're arguing with ourselves.
This actually makes me really mad when people get upset about the cultural appropriation of Muay Thai shorts being worn on a runway. I'm like, Muay Thai shorts look the way they do because they came from Western boxing. Like, it's totally not traditional Thai. But I saw a really great side-by-side photo comparison on one of the Thai old photos pages that I follow. It was Victorian women on a beach in Thailand, covered head to toe in their dresses, probably wearing their fucking boots that they do in the water on the beach, like King and I type, let's come civilize this country. And then, so that was whatever date that was.
Were they Thais or Western?
Western. They were white women from England. And then next to that was from the 90s, and it's a bunch of Farang women in like G-string bikinis on the beach. And it was totally what you're talking about, where like the modesty of Thai women came from white women being like, fucking cover yourself, you can't go around topless. And so they became really conservative, and then Thai people do not wear bikinis on the beach. They're very covered on the beach. And now Westerners come in with their like pasties on in Pattaya, and it's this like complete like, we made you this way and now we're here and it's gonna go this way, and like weird. How dare you be so sexual. It's so crazy. It's the same thing. It's very weird.
And so people have arguments about what real Thainess is, because there are arguments that before it self-civilized and became like the West, so the West wouldn't fucking invade the country and copied the West, there was much less gender differentiation, and it was not uncommon for women to be topless and to work side by side with men on similar tasks. I'm not saying there was no gender differentiation, but Siam had a very different attitude about gender roles. And very likely women fighting was something that goes back hundreds of years, because women were workers alongside men. What men did, women did. And I'm like, if you want to talk about traditional values, those might be the traditional values, and not the fucking Victorian, you know, lace up to the neck thing. Do you know what I mean? It's very interesting. But I don't want to get too far about it, but in a weird way, a lot of people think, oh, Thailand, traditional Asia. Not being able to touch Lumpini is not fucking old. It's new.
It's also not Buddhist.
There's video of Karahat's manager, who's a woman, pounding on the ring apron. Many, many videos. There is no like, don't touch that, all the fighters will get cut.
Yeah. And she's not like allowed in the corner. She is fucking running that shit. Yeah. She ran the gym. She was the power. She's the power.
She was the power there. But I'm saying a lot of the things that we assume are like Thai tradition, hundreds of years, you're bringing in your Western values. A lot of what we consider traditional in Thailand actually was an imitation of the West.
Already Western values.
It was already Western values. All right, let's go to the next thing. That was pretty cool. This is a really cool subject that I actually, I want to actually do a documentary about this. If there's any documentary filmmakers out there that want to work for not a lot of money and just do something really cool, fucking contact us. You're not as excited about the idea of a documentary on this, but I'm really excited about this idea. How do we get into this? The Thai kick of the golden age, the greatest fighters ever, is already somewhat lost, even in Thailand.
Yeah.
And there is a feeling like it's just going to be lost eventually. This is not even getting into the Western version of the Thai kick, which is this extreme overturn of the hip, roundhouse hip overturn, right? Just talking about the Thai kick. God, how do I get into this? There is an openness of the hip, which expresses it somehow in like a kind of like get on the horse.
Mm-hmm. Like a bow-legged
like
thing.
a bow-leggedness that characterizes Thai kicks of the golden age. And there's so many photos of these. Like when you get all those cover photos, there's a beautiful one of Sagat jumping. You get this like really opened hip and whipping action.
Yeah.
Right? Help me, baby. What is laugh at me struggling?
Well, I would come to it this way.
Okay.
Westerners who are pretty good at kicking come to Thailand with their kick, their Thai kick. You call it the Thai kick as though it's just one thing.
Right.
And the way they've learned it is turn over your hip. Turn over your hip. And when you come here and you're learning how to kick, your trainer will tell you, close your hip, turn your hip. But there's a hidden dimension of a vast disparity between even a good Westerner's Thai kick and this kick you're talking about from the Golden Age, which is just this like relaxation whippiness in the hip that a lot of Westerners, when they come to Thailand or even our training at home, I get contacted a lot. They're like, my hips are too tight. And a lot of Thai trainers, when they have Westerners who can't kick well, they're just like, he's too tight, like too tight. They can tell that it's this kind of like looseness.
Yeah.
And it's not a technical turn your hip. It's an actual like anatomical, what is the word I'm looking for? Flexibility, or
this is something I've read when I was reading about like the cultural position of Thailand, of Muay Thai in Thailand. That Thais believe, ideologically, the Thai people are made for Muay Thai. Like they just can do it better from birth, almost genetically, are superior in Muay Thai.
I've seen a lot of Thais show up on day one and be kicking pretty well by the end of it, and I kind of subscribe to that same idea.
Okay, so to cut to the chase, this is what I think is behind the Thai kick. And this is not even talking about the golden kick, which is the golden age kick. Sylvie has I did a video edit of old footage, and Sylvie's done a whole thing about how the golden kick is very different than the roundhouse kick that is taught in the West and called Thai. This is even not even talking about the golden kick, which is special and should be studied and worked on. There is something more fundamental going on with when Thais kick than when Westerners kick. And it has to do with the squat, the Asian squat. And it's not just Thailand. All of Southeast Asia does it. This is, and in movement, in Western movement, I forgot that guy's name, Tony something, that we were following. But whatever, in Western movements, squatting becomes very, very important. The Asian squat is just a very simple, heels on the ground, flaring of the knee angle. This is how you go to the bathroom. This is how you wait for a bus. This is how you eat lunch.
How you cook.
This is how you do like everything.
Fire pit.
This is a fundamental position that you, as a baby, learn right from the beginning. But this is where it's really interesting and complicated. The Asian squat has social stigma to it. Not only in Thailand, but other parts of Southeast Asia. We haven't been there, but I've seen lots of reference to it. The Asian squat is kind of like you're a hillbilly or a hick. You're rural, you're uneducated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't agree
no,
with me?
I'm following you.
Yeah.
I know this. So.
I've seen Westerners who like get their hot Isan girlfriend and then make fun of them squatting everywhere.
Yeah.
It has like a caveman kind of attitude from the West. We were just talking about fucking Western ideas about the savagery of the Siamese people that they encountered and how they're fucking not dressing with their gender and keeping their hair different. This squat that's looked down from Westerners, it has this kind of like savage, dumb, poor person stigma. And for this reason, Thais have stopped squatting.
Yeah, well, middle class and
middle class.
High, so yeah.
That as you try to like lift your economic opportunities, you start adopting body postures that code you as educated.
Yeah, and chairs became more common and toilets have changed.
When you go to a san and you go to a rich person's house, there are not a lot of chairs.
It's crazy. They're just
It's
empty tile
floors. You sit on the floor.
Yeah.
I'll try to link in the thing. There's this guy who is a movement guy in the West who like took all the chairs out of his house because he's like, human beings have been sitting on the ground for 10,000 years. And there's so many ways to sit on the ground. When you sit on the ground, you open your body up. He's like the worst. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but his theory is the worst thing you can do is sit in a chair.
I can attest to driving across Thailand, seated, as one would sit in a chair in the car for hours and hours and hours on end. I am never more sore and tight doing anything as I am sitting on my ass. Like, it's not good for hips.
So, if in painting the wider picture, you have, just like you had in the early 1900s, Thailand moving towards a kind of like colonialist concept of gender distinction and adopting Western values. You have the same thing happening to the Asian squat, that more and more of Thailand is moving towards chair sitting. And if you really want to be honest about it, toilets versus squat toilets, like Western toilets versus squat toilets. If you have a Western toilet, you are middle class, or you are coded as more upwardly social mobile, right? You have a squat toilet, you're a backwoods outhouse. In the West, it's like an outhouse, right? Outhouse versus a toilet. The proliferation of the toilet is eventually going to wipe out the Thai kick in Thailand. Eventually, everyone's going to have toilets. No one's going to use squat toilets, which means as a baby, as a young, like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, you're going to learn how to go to the bathroom sitting in a chair. Once everybody in Thailand, if it ever gets to that point, is sitting in chairs and using Western toilets, the Thai kick will be gone. That's my theory. You agree with that?
It's already on its way out. But I had this theory when we first came to Thailand that I would see people squatting. Den used to squat. He would perch on top of a bench, squatted.
Yes.
Whereas
instead of sitting on the bench,
every Farang next to him was sitting the way you sit on a bench. And I thought that this, at the time, I was like, there is a hip situation going on here because I can't squat like that. Like when I try to squat, I can't even do it.
And what's weird is you've been trying to squat more for the last 6 months, maybe. You still can't get your heels on the ground.
No, but if you look at a baby, even Western babies, all babies, their ligaments and stuff aren't all tight yet. They're very Gumby. That's why babies can like bend in weird ways. When they're like walking and they want to pick something up, they just pop a squat. They just like drop their butt straight down. If you just never stop doing that, you have that same flexibility.
And I think this flexibility leads to an openness of the hips. That when you kick, exemplifies, it creates a internal dynamic of hip like spring loading. The Thai can create the same power of turning over your hip without actually turning the hip over. It creates a whipping action.
Yeah, the turning of the hip is actually more of a like description than an actual thing that you do. It's like, think about turning your hip, but you don't actually.
They don't actually even turn it over at all. But I believe that, I don't know, I believe that this loss of the toilet and the virtue of the chair is going to wipe this kick off the face of the planet. Like literally, it will not be in Thailand in 25 years. I don't know if things continue, maybe the West will fall out of favor. I don't know how these kinds of things work, but there was a Thai government movement of getting rid of the squat toilet
for the health of older citizens.
They were saying that the squat toilet produces arthritis, and that to be healthy, you had to actually have Western toilets.
Meanwhile, in the West, they're creating these little like footstools for our toilets to put you in more of a squatted position because you can't actually move your bowels properly.
What I'm saying is that what is really happening with the loss of the Asian squat in Thailand is that you have a very strong colonialist adoption of body symbolization, and that sitting in a chair makes you educated, and squatting on the ground makes you look uneducated. And it's kind of interesting that one of the interesting things about the West is that it's moved so far along the mechanistic, individualistic culture that it's starting to recognize the deficits of their life, of living that life.
What do you mean?
I'm like, everyone's an individual, therefore you don't respect your parents and you let them die alone, or put them into homes. Well, when the family falls apart, then you lack emotional connections, and then you go to a place like Thailand where the whole block is the same family, and you're like, oh my God, that's beautiful. You realize there's a deficit in your culture. Now you have movement people being like, standing desk, learn how to squat, like recover, get out of the chair, chairs are evil. I'm saying people are recognizing that, like, maybe being in a chair 13 hours a day, like we're sitting right here, right? Maybe being in a chair 13 hours a day leads to low back pain, leads to sciatica, leads to all kinds of problems. But what's kind of cool about it is, if you want to kick like a Thai, you should start squatting.
Yes.
Now, talk a little bit about your adventure, because you've actually started squatting. What you were squatting between rounds, you were doing what were the things you were doing, and how has it felt to you? Because you still can't really get your heels on the ground.
No, I can't. I thought to start squatting a long time ago. I actually started in Chiang Mai and gave up on it really quickly because I would only do it in our apartment.
Because you were shy.
I was shy because I couldn't quite do it. But now I'm doing it more like integrating it as a, like, just pop a squat between pad rounds while I'm drinking water. I'll do hanging and squatting alternating because hanging is for my shoulders. Like, it's something that I absolutely see the benefit of for the purposes of looseness in the hips and kicking and things like this. I actually have, like, I don't feel like I have a tightness in my hip that makes my kick bad the way that some people talk about. I just feel like I have hip pain in a kind of general sense. Like, I feel like the squatting is for a more general
You mean it's kind
well-being.
of like healthy in a weird way?
Yeah, maybe like how this Tony Little, is that his name?
Oh, maybe that is his name.
He, ran barefoot across the UK or something.
Yeah, I think that was it. In a month, he ran like marathon after marathon.
I was listening to a guy on a podcast who was talking about how the way we exercise and the way we build muscles with, like, do bicep curls for this, do planks for this, blah, blah, blah. He's like, this is so bizarre. We all have innate natural movement that we just don't use. If you tell a kid to go outside and play, they use innate natural movement. They just play. They just move around. He's like, if you take a tiger to exercise, you don't put it on a treadmill and then try to, like, blast its quads or whatever. You just let a tiger be a tiger, kind of thing. And I think that I don't mean to sound all, like, romantic, savage, or, like, modern primitive or whatever, because I think a lot of that comes from white culture coming and trying to, like, idealize
the noble savage,
more natural ways or something like that. But when you look at how kids are trained in Muay Thai, they come and they do a few things that are, like, regimented in terms of, like, learn to keep your hands up, learn to block, learn to do this, and then it's like, go play for, like, 90% of the rest of training. And play is really the, like, bulk of how you learn until you start kind of, like, framing it and molding it and pulling it this way. And we do it completely the opposite, which is to, like, form the movement into this mold and then try to find speed and whatever on top of it, or in it, or whatever the thing is. And so I feel like with my squatting, it's kind of pulling back together the, like, natural states of the body that would allow those kinds of play moments to come out.
Maybe we should get hardcore about this. Maybe we do it together. Sylvie 3.0.
Kevin 2.5.
No, I would be like 1.1. Kevin version 1.1.
You're older than me. You must have been, like, reinvented a few times.
No way. Stuck in the mud. But I'm saying maybe squatting is key to Sylvie 3.0 this year. like getting very serious about it, not like, oh, I'm going to do some squats like I do some sit-ups, but rather squats to like find a whole new relationship to the hips. Because one thing that we've learned in Thailand over time is that hips, like the relationship to the hips and the groin, is maybe the biggest hurdle for Westerners coming to Thailand. That there is all kinds of body mapping around here, that in the West, a lot of our habits of how the body is used is just not the same as in Thailand. And overcoming those are the keys to really unlocking techniques to their fullest beauty and poetry. So I'm like, maybe that is some element of this, is like, get your shoulders all monkeyed up, get your squats going, like get the Asian squat going. Like, I don't know. I find this to be very beautiful because when it's one of those, like, what was that book? Like Guns, like,
Germs, and Steel.
Yeah, like how one little thing is connected to another little thing, how historic movements change, have butterfly effects. I think it's very cool that if Thailand is kind of like self-colonizing itself by removing the Asian squat to appeal to certain kind of body ideals, and therefore losing the Thai kick, which is this like beautiful national art. There's something that's very cool, and I think that, I don't know if it's the squat, that the squat itself has changed, but even Thais don't seem to really kick the way they used to kick in the Golden Age. That horse movement, that get on the horse shape, I don't see as often in photographs.
Pinu does not have that kick. He does not have a wide bow-legged kick, but he's got a fucking whip.
I've never seen him squat.
This is the thing. No, he doesn't squat. But the way he sits when he sits for temple, when he goes to the Wat, it's so weird. I can't do it.
Does he have that Rusi sit?
It's not the Rusi sit. It's like, I don't even know how he does it. It's his knees are in the front. It's like if you were sitting on your knees, like if you were like in a...
Like a side knee?
His feet go to opposite directions. Like I do the mermaid thing where like both my feet go to one side or the other, and I have to shift position like every 10 minutes because things fall asleep and whatever. He sits with his feet going behind him on either side. Like the flexibility in his knees and hips there is crazy. But he throws his back out picking up a t-shirt. Like where his tensions are from what he does in his, like, he used to be a farmer. Now he's a
perfect example, though, who was born low-class farmer and now is, like, probably upper middle class, like, in terms of wealth and also self-identification. Probably wants his sons to be educated. He represents the transition from the toilet to the toilet, like the squat to the chair, squat to the chair. Right, that generational move is happening right there in his own house.
And even between his sons, because there's so much time between them, like...
Totally.
There's Banks kind of in the middle, and then Knott's just, like, beyond.
Yeah, I wonder how he's going to grow up. So I'm, like, returning. If anybody wants to make a gonzo documentary with us, I'd love to, like, come and, like, film the kicks of Golden Age legends and capture the quality of this Thai kick, and then talk about the evolution and the loss of the squat, the Asian squat, the squat toilet, the cultural dynamics of this change, the fact that the government's even behind it. And it's a very cool connection of like martial arts and culture. Let's go. I think this is going to be our final topic for this Muay Thai Bones.
Final round.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for supporting us on the podcast as patrons and supporting us on YouTube. Even if you're not a patron, positive comments. How do we get into this? Emma Thomas, friend of yours, one of your best friends, really a lifelong friend of Thailand.
She has the Under the Ropes blog, which is incredible. Her Facebook page covers events going on in Bangkok. She's a power lifter. She's been Muay Thai forever. She's actually been in Thailand longer than me.
It's pretty fucking cool. You guys are like Muay Thai sisters. It's very cool, the relationship you guys have had over time.
We've been accused of being feminists, which I'll just come right fucking out and say it. Yeah, like, no question. You're not drawing any like lines we haven't seen.
I don't know. Why do you bring that up? It's kind of weird.
I think it's funny. We've shared pictures of each other as harpies with our faces on, like harpy bodies.
Yeah, I think your feminist position is kind of complicated and interesting. You talk about it in the Under the Ropes, ironically named Under the Ropes documentary.
No relation.
That you have feminist ideals, but also are drawn to traditional masculine Thai values, right? So, and you're in conflict with yourself in some ways. Yeah. But anyways, this was actually not about, but triggered by a really good blog post by Emma, where she was talking about the loss or the emotional difficulties of dealing with the idea of losing her identity as a fighter.
The identity crisis of being a fighter who no longer fights.
Right.
Which happens to everyone eventually.
Not if you're John Wayne Parr.
Just retire a few times.
I knew he wasn't going to stay retired.
Temporary retirement.
I knew he wasn't. He was going to be like
Ending.
100 years old fighting. So she made a really interesting point about this, which was there was, as a fighter, she almost made it sound like there's an unhealthy relationship that you gain as a fighter, a kind of like addiction or something where your value as a person comes through your performance. Isn't that kind of what she was saying?
Yeah.
That okay, you trained hard, we have a early Muay Thai bones on what I call true crew syndrome, where you really, as a female fighter especially, try to please your Thai crew, and you're like do all this stuff in your training, and then you have your fight, and then how you perform in your fight becomes your identity, your value. And then so you go in your fight, you disappoint your trainer on some level always, and then you have to go back to training, correcting it, then you go to a fight, and you're like, try to better yourself. You try to do better than you did last time. And if you did better, you feel more valuable as a person. And if you did worse, as sometimes happens, you really feel shitty.
Yeah.
And so as part of being a fighter, the fighter identity, especially in Thailand where you can fight a lot, is you just go through this cycle.
And it's often really played out and determined by fights, maybe even especially in Thailand because of this face, having to, your trainer's face and losing face and all that.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about, I don't know, when I read that, you got to read the blog post. It's really good. I think it's one of the best things, one of the most enjoyable things that Emma's written. I just feel her in every sentence. It's really, really good. She's really honest. She's very cool because she went past fighting into powerlifting in Thailand. So she's found other passions. She's expanding herself. She used to just live, eat, breathe, the gym, her fights. She went through that, and she's like come out on the other side, and her reflectiveness on it is very cool. But when I read that, I was like, that's really familiar. And then my instinctive feeling is, it's pretty cool that Sylvie feels like she has gotten past that. And I'm like, I don't even know if that's true.
Well, wait. When you say Sylvie feels, you mean it feels to you that Sylvie has, or Sylvie feels?
No.
Yeah. So your feelings about me.
It feels that Sylvie has gotten past it. I think that's what I said. So it feels to me, to be clear. And this is one of the cool or interesting things about Sylvie fighting 250, now it's 60 plus times. And it's going to be a 500. It's going to be a C note. 5 C notes, sorry. Or as Karahat says, 501 genes.
Because I'm American, so it's got to be 501.
Yeah. But anyways, people are like, it's quality, not quantity. We heard this for a long time. I understand people have their own philosophies. One of the things about fighting 250 times is you get to fight 250 times. And the things that you experience fight to fight to fight subtly change. When you fight 30 times in a year, you're experiencing something 30 times that you will, the revisitation of certain emotions, again, the water flowing over the rock, produces a different perspective on those emotions than if you fought 5 times. Or 3 times for a world title. Like, yes, that's a branch of experience. But one of the cool things about you is you've been fighting over 30 times, averaging over 30 fights a year for 7, I think it's 8 years now.
Yeah.
I was struck by this feeling like you are leaving behind the performance equals identity finger trap. It's the Chinese finger trap. The harder you try.
What is it instead? It's the process is identity?
I don't know. That's what we're going to talk about. We haven't actually figured out the answers to this question. I wrote it down, and I'm like, this would be interesting to talk about. I mean, these are real conversations.
Well, it's interesting because even within this Bones podcast, we've brought up a few of these things, which is, Master K is Mr. Elbow KO.
Yeah.
And my goal, or my being either good or bad, was whether or not I could bring Master K's Muay Thai into the ring, which I could not do.
It was very challenging. Personally.
Yeah. And a lot of, for me, what resonated really hard for me in Emma's post about identity is that when you devote yourself to something like this, to be a fighter requires a lot of time, and your life is centered around your training in the gym and fighting in the community of those people. And she was saying that she never wanted to go out because she didn't want to be tired for training. Like, everything was for training. And so when that changes, of course you're going to have an identity crisis because your entire identity has been wrapped in these patterns. So the interesting distinction of what came out for you was the performance being this marker of the identity, or the kind of judgment of the identity.
It confers the value, like whether how much value you have.
But I mean, it's like if you climb Everest one time, and it's this amazing achievement, you can identify with being someone who climbed Everest and how hard that was. If you're a Sherpa who climbs Everest all the time, the kind of identity you have cannot be about the performance of each climb, unless it's nobody died today. It's a good day kind of thing. Is that the exposure to it kind of quiets the significance of each little piece of an individual fight or an individual accomplishment.
One of the things I like that you've said in the past is you've lost more times than other people have
will ever fight.
And we're talking about productive fighters, people with big careers. Losing. How many losses do you have? Something like 60 something?
9, something like that. 70 something? I don't know.
Could be 80s. I don't even know.
I think it's in the 70s. Yeah.
Okay. But I'm saying just familiarity with what loss feels like. Loss is one of the worst competitive feelings. To just be familiar. One of the things that's so interesting to me about your perspective is no one stood where you have stood.
Yeah.
Not even Thais have stood where you have stood. There are Thais that probably have. I know it's very popular right now for Thais to exaggerate their numbers for Westerners, but even if a Thai fought 300 times or something like this, their perspective on loss is probably very different than yours, because you started when you were 24, not when you were 8.
Yeah. And I lost a lot.
And you lost
early.
A lot in the beginning, and it's so you came to your first loss as an adult. There's nobody, I don't know, maybe there's somebody, but there's nobody in the world who has a perspective on loss like you as an adult, as a female, fighting all these times. And that's just loss. Now take close fights. Now take blowout fights. Now take fights where you've been cut. You've been cut you've got over 200 stitches that you've taken from the neck up. Like, it's the number of times you visited something that gives perspective. And I'm like always, I'm interested in the identity you form to something that you're like the Sherpa who's been up the fucking mountain, that the mountain is somebody's life crowning achievement. They are going to establish their perspective on their identity on their Everest climb. And you're like, yeah, it's Tuesday.
I summited twice.
Just out of the sheer repetition. And the theme of this podcast seems to be about the value of repetition.
Yeah.
The water pouring over the stone. And I think when I'm talking about your career, I think you're about halfway over.
But it's not even playing devil's advocate. I guess it's just a clarification. You're talking about losses and how many there are, and then wins, how many there are, knockouts, how many there are. These are numbers. They're not performances. So
going back to the
for
performance
the performance thing. As identity, like,
well, they
am
are.
I beyond
no,
that?
but
like,
they are performances in that you have felt your value drop after every one of those losses.
Yeah.
On some level.
Yeah.
You felt your identity take a hit.
Yeah.
And it feels like, maybe I'm not perceiving correctly, but it feels like the nature of that hit and the way you view it is starting to evolve. Like, you're starting to leave behind performance equals identity. It's just something I'm intuiting.
Well, I definitely have experienced a change in, like, when I have a really bad fight where it just was not coming together, there was a, like, universal I'm shit
feeling.
After, like, not that was shit, but I'm shit after that fight early and well into the hundreds, I'm sure. That now it's like, wow, I haven't performed that badly in a while. Like, that performance is part of my identity rather than that performance now is my new identity. It's like that shirt is one of 40 in my closet rather than that shirt is me kind of thing. And I haven't worn it in a long time. I'm like low on laundry, so I end up in that shirt again kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's more of a, like, water pressure, tears in rain kind of thing, that, like, with the exposure of so many experiences, each one cannot be as significant as it is when you've fought 4 times and lost twice and you're like, this is the end of the world. Like, when I rode that first wave of the apocalypse, which was 6 fights in a row, all losses, took almost a year.
On, yeah.
It was like, that felt very much like an identity thing that I had to wear. Like, how do I get this off of me?
Yeah.
And it felt like the only way to get it off of me was to win. Like, that you just have to put on a different shirt kind of thing. And I think that just the sheer exposure to performances and all the variables, I'm more aware of them. I've talked a few times about how like, training is so intense, and you do it twice a day, normal training, that, like, you forget most of it, and it becomes defined by 2 minutes throughout the day that either were really great, and so you just, like, paint the whole session with that brush, or they were really bad, and so you paint the whole session with that brush kind of thing. Is like, I have a very good memory. I don't remember most of my childhood, so the memories I have kept become the kind of, like...
Okay, what does it have to do with fighting? You lost me a little bit.
I'm saying that I think that people don't necessarily overcome the performance as identity through maturation so much as just greater exposure to experience.
I also think that something happened in your path because we decided to make fight numbers much more the goal than some, like, beating some pinnacle fighter or getting some belt, which we would have not much control over. We're just like, we're going to push on the numbers really hard and just get water over the stone. is that in order to keep fighting, you had to start taking some really big weight differences. Because there just were not going to be enough women even close to your size, like not even 2 kilos, 3 kilos, 4 kilos. There's not going to be enough women in Thailand, even though there's a lot of female fighters, that are willing to fight you. So for a long time, in order to keep fighting, you took disadvantages where you should lose. And to your credit, you still kept winning at about the 70, 75% win rate. Like your win rate stayed the same. But you took on fights that had a fundamental feeling of unfairness to them, and the expectation that you very well would lose this fight. And so I feel like exposing yourself repeatedly to really large opponents built up calluses about what a loss means. It changed your relationship to loss. You still were winning at the same rate, but it was like a different kind of thing. And that's been for about 2 years now, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting example because identity, I guess, is a constructed constant. Like that. It's probably not really, but it's the story you tell of what's constant about you, in the same way that we think we have personalities or something.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the first times I really fought bigger. Like, I was fighting bigger for a long time, but not like so much bigger. The first time I took a really big jump, I think this girl, Pet Namgan, was about 60 kilos.
Was that the one in Chiang Mai that when we were still
Mai,
at Chiang Mai?
And it kind of broke my relationship with the gym a little bit, because that was the one where I realized that their primary important relationships were not to me. They were to the pre-existing promotions, relationships, things. But I had no business winning that fight. None. Like, nobody went into that fight being like,
this was like
Sylvie's
5 years. Fight. No, this was
7 years ago.
7 years ago. Yeah.
But I felt so bad. Like, I felt so bad about that loss because of my performance. I was like, I should be able to beat her. And you were like, why? Like, there's no reason why you should be able to beat this girl. Like, there was not one thing that you had an advantage in against her. I didn't have more experience than her at the time. I was so much smaller, like, everything. And it still just hurt so bad. And I think that since that time, it has become my identity to fight bigger, have these disadvantages, have crazy, like, sure, we'll go do that situations, that at the time, that experience was like not my identity to anyone, anywhere, blah, 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 kind of thing. And I don't know whether the identity of, like, constantly battling people bigger is as strong as it ultimately will be. I still get really upset about that. You still get
a little bit upset. But you define yourself less by that performance. I can just feel it. I think also part of it, and I know that people cannot, you've had a perfect storm of how we've been able to shape your career, and other people have tried to copy this and you can't do it. It just was lucky for us. We purposefully broke off your crew making fights for you. So we make our own fights. We travel all over Thailand. So we broke the cycle of train on a bunch of shit, show it in the ring. Your value is how well you did that. Mm-hmm. Get back to training. Mm-hmm. You train a bunch of shit, go somewhere else, fight as hard as you can, say whether you won or lost, probably didn't ever see the fight, come back to training. Mm-hmm. Keep working on shit. Mm-hmm. And we had that, so we kind of broke that kind of, like, performance equals identity. Like, the crew has a big role of making you feel like you disappointed somebody. in your fight.
Yeah.
And that we were kind of lucky in being able to do that, I think. Because it's fucking hard when you're trying to please a crew.
Yeah, no, I'm not divorced.
Over and over
I'm not
again.
divorced from that, but I definitely had like a buffer.
It took the edge off of it.
It took the edge off, yeah. But it's also a thing that we experience in Thailand, so we see it as strongly Thai, but it probably happens everywhere, which is when you do well, everyone wants credit.
Yeah.
And when you do badly, everyone wants to point the finger somewhere else.
Some other influence.
Like, I think that because I've had so many influences as well, like not only does my gym not book fights for me, but while I 100% have most of my training and my primary training at this gym, my influences are very wide ranging because of my Muay Thai library and training and patron and the legends and things like this, is that
what are you saying, baby?
Strongly experiencing the everyone wants to take credit when it's good and everyone wants to point a finger when it's bad. There's a lot of fingers to be pointing with me.
So you feel extra pressure?
No, I'm saying that it's actually a little bit less.
Because everybody wants to be part of what this thing is. You win more than you lose, so.
Well, this is the thing. A lot of people take credit for me. Like, a lot of people. Some have no fucking business taking credit for me, and they take it anyway.
Well, let's not be like that, baby.
But
you're making it sound like a lot of people. We're talking about a specific person, right?
No.
A lot of people?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I am talking about him. But there are also people who I've trained with once in the Muay Thai library, and they'll be like, I taught her that.
Well, that's
And
cool.
it's like, that's true. You did teach me
cool.
that. It's not why I did it. But I'm actually... don't interrupt me. I'm one of these people who, it's like, I have enough gratitude to go around. Like, yes, everyone did put a piece in.
Yeah, but you sound like you're saying the opposite.
Okay, then...
This is not you. You're not an ungrateful person. Your tone you took, because there's one person in particular who's not one of these legends at all.
What I'm actually trying to say is that because I have so many people influencing, it takes a lot of pressure off of a gym who has to point their fingers at 3 people of whether they did good or not.
Yeah.
So Gangat losing his fight, which actually was a completely bad decision to begin with.
Right.
That's like 4 people.
They're like, who was holding pads for him?
Who was in his corner? Who told him to punch? Whatever, blah, 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 all this stuff. That's 4 people who have to, like, scramble to, it's your fault, you trained him on that day, you weren't paying attention, blah, blah, blah. Whereas with me, it's like, well, there's, like, 40 people who could have had something to do with that. And so it's like, whatever. Like,
it gets dispersed.
It gets dispersed. It gets watered down a little bit.
Yeah. And, what was I thinking? Oh, I want to keep following this thing of getting beyond performance equals identity. I feel like your Yod Muay ambition also takes away the edge of negative identity experiences, which is because we shoot the arrow so far out. The Yod Muay ambition you have, the Yod Muay means like the top version of a Muay Thai, like the greatest Muay Thai fighters, Mount Olympus of Muay Thai, right? Because you're shooting so far out, all the times you fall and stumble is on the scale of a fucking ultra or 3 ultras. It's like so far out there that it's like the little fluctuations of up and down, lost, didn't do good, da 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 da. It's on a heartbeat that just goes out. It's a very long wavelength. And I feel like you're becoming more and more connected to this Yod Muay arrow shot. Which is very different than trying to please your crew by throwing the 1-2 low kick that you learned. That's a very strong pressure. And then your crew is like, why are you not checking kicks? You're making me look bad. Like, those are very powerful experiences for women in Thailand, and probably men, but women especially. That can be defining of your experience of Muay Thai, of all the things you didn't do that your crew trained you to do. And I'm like, and then whether you won the belt or not, like, where your identity is stretching is just way out there that mitigates this performance equals identity. If you fucking fought 230 more times and lost every single fight and you still fought 230 more times, oh my God, what amazing person you would have been. Like, even if the very worst thing happened, oh my God, like, holy shit. It's like you climbed a mountain with one leg. And that's not what's going to happen. But I'm saying, even if the worst thing, performance, happened, if you had the fucking guts and determination to go through 230 losses, that's more impressive than 230 wins straight.
Yeah, again, it's that, like, the identity isn't wrapped up in the performance because the process is actually just a much larger.
That's what I'm kind of saying.
Element.
And I think that's why the reason why I want to talk about this is that there's very few people in the world who have even gotten to this point. And so what you see from where you're standing on the mountain as you look out over the valley is a perspective that is very rare. And I want it to be shared. And I kind of want to hear it too. I don't know.
I remember when we were still in Chiang Mai, so I don't know how many fights I had at that point, maybe like 40 or something.
I think you left around 75.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't at the
end. It wasn't when we were leaving.
Yeah.
I just remember people contacting me being very upset because they'd lost 2 fights in a row or something, and they only had like 3 fights, maybe even only the 2 fights or whatever. Or like, why am I still so nervous? Why can I not hear my coach? Like, all these things, blah, blah, blah. And it was this like, why would you expect to know at all what you're doing, something that you've only done 3 times? And if you even count out the number of minutes you've spent in the ring, it's like 30 minutes or something. We calculated out how many rounds I've done.
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000 rounds. Like, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable saying that I know some shit. Having done 1,000 rounds, like, I feel like I know what I'm talking about. Whereas, like,
and only been knocked down 1 time.
Yeah, can't give you a lot of advice about being knocked down. It's only been once. Like, it's
But you can give advice about staying up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of these things where, like, something has a big grip on your identity when it shouldn't. When you don't have a lot of experience, it takes up a lot of space. Because
there's not much space.
Yeah. And that's the wrong time for that to be part of your identity, because it's you haven't done anything with it yet. Like, it's very small.
It's so cool that you led moving to Thailand on a 6-fight losing streak. Was it 6 or 7?
6.
You had that boxing fight thrown in there too. Geo,
maybe it's 7.
I think it was 7. 6 Muay Thai fights.
Thanks, baby.
And Geo.
I've had 6-fight losing streaks since then, but it's only like 2 months or 3 months.
Something like that. Well, you haven't had that for a long time, actually, because you become more resilient.